Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Encrypted Connections. I'm your host, Kyle, and I'm so excited tonight, guys. I have on not just a good guy, but a great guy. You've probably seen him on, there he is, the supermodel. You've probably seen him on Bigfoot Odyssey. If you haven't, I suggest you go watch. Or his channel, Standing Goats Rescue, on YouTube. This is Donnie Miller. Hi, Donnie. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the intro. Greatly appreciate it. Doing really well sitting out with the goats in the backyard. The weather's actually really nice. It's cooled down. We're about 75 right now, which is nice here. It's really nice.
Yeah, for where you are, yeah.
Yeah, low humidity today.
Oh, that's good.
Very blessed for that one.
Yeah, we had a good one today. It was about 66 was the high.
Wow.
No humidity, blue skies, no clouds, light breeze. That's my weather.
Like, I could probably make it up there on about $50 on that motorbike. I would love to come up.
Come on up, man. Come on up. I'm telling you, you'd love that bike to ride up here, especially during the fall. You might not turn around.
I don't think I would either. I've seen pictures and video clips. I have some friends that do a lot of drone footage, and they got tons of footage from that whole area and all up into Vermont, and like New York.
Yeah, for sure.
Upstate New York.
Absolutely.
I never knew it was country.
It's country.
Beautiful. Big hills, and I never knew that until last year.
They get upstate New York gets some of the worst snow in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, like Syracuse, they get terrible snow. Terrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's in the mountains. I can't ever pronounce the name of it. She's in the mountain range up there. Now I can't even remember the name of the mountains. Oh, doggone, I can't remember. But she lives in the mountains, like right at the lower elevations on the foothills.
Yep.
And she sent me a lot of videos of the walks that she does up in the mountains, and I was just in love with it.
Yeah.
The colors, there's every color you can imagine this time of the year.
Yep.
It's incredible. Just the whole screen glows with all the golds and yellows and reds, and it's so pretty.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you see ours. We don't have a lot of color, green and gray.
Hey, man, some people like it though. It's not. Listen, that's not my cup of tea. I love the color green, but we talked. I don't like the heat, man. I'm not a heat guy.
And trying to get my thyroid back into condition.
You too?
They just found out 3 months ago that I had thyroid issues, and I overheat really easy. And I told Kim, I see, I love the swamps. If I was to ever be shipped anywhere, if there's a swamp, I'm good. But just something about the swamp, the beauty in it. And here in Florida, they'll never be built up because they are considered wetlands, which they protect. And if you go into wetlands and cut a tree down, just a basic, what we call a garbage tree, just a native shrub, you are in serious trouble.
Yeah.
What happens, every tree you cut, they'll give you a list, and normally it's 20 different species, and you have to plant one of each of those. You got to buy it with your own money. And some of these cypress trees they're not cheap.
No.
You buy 2 of them, it's about the cost of a good used car. They're extremely expensive. Come on, buddy, you scoot up.
That's so funny that you mentioned the thyroid, because in the video that I made today, I said I was talking about the weather here, and I talked about how I didn't like the heat, and I mentioned that like I have this messed up thyroid. It's just funny that you said it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And we had a talk yesterday, and when I did the video, I was thinking about it, and I said, because we literally talked twice. And I thought, because what I said in the video, I said we talked like a little over 2 hours. But then I get looking. I was looking at my phone died on me twice. Yesterday when I was talking to you, it had died, and I had to throw it on before we went on the video thing and just get it charged up some. And it died again, and I can talk, all day on that thing.
Yeah.
And for I have to charge it twice. That's never happened. And I got looking, and it was like almost 6 hours we talked between
Yeah,
the two,
it was.
back calls. And I thought, wow, I haven't had a conversation that long. I don't even remember when.
I know when. The last time I talked on a phone even close to that was when I was in junior high and I was trying to get myself a girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. I remember those. I remember those calls. Oh, yeah, definitely.
That was the last time, but it was a great conversation. So why, if it
Yeah.
was boring, then obviously I wouldn't have stayed on the phone that long. But it felt like it was only, a short time.
Yeah, it seemed like 45 minutes or an hour is what it seemed like, and
Yeah,
it kind of blew me away. And
yeah,
Cam says, "Yeah, you were on the phone all day."
all day.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
We were on a long time, but it was that was the greatest conversation I've had in
Ah,
a very, very long time.
yes, sir.
And I thank you for that.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you.
Just,
I was honored that you answered my email. Period. I really was. I told you how much your telling of your story on Kerry's show meant to me.
yeah. Thank you.
And so when I reached out, I was hoping, but you never know. But I kind of had that feeling like if him and Kerry are part of that same family and they have a friendship, I said, then obviously, Donnie he's got to be from the same ilk as Kerry. And I was right.
Yeah, Kerry, he's such an amazing man, and I hate it that he left us so soon, but in spirit, he's always going to be here, and we will absolutely 100% see him again. I have no doubt about that. But the gap between now and when we do see him, it may be 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It'll be a long time. And I hate it because there's something about Kerry. And when he came here, I have not seen the footage at all, what they recorded. I haven't been on YouTube much because since we started this house thing, it's been overwhelming.
Yeah.
And when they came and he wanted me to share the encounter, that what I call the bad encounter I had, the one that messed me up. I'm going to readjust this a little bit. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was crooked so bad.
No, go ahead, man.
Hey, buddy. But when he come here, we were in the living room, and I was sitting down, and he set up. He's got a camera up, like one over here, one over here, and Kerry was behind it. He's got this. Well, I use my light. His lights are these little. They're really bright, put off a lot of light. But it was hard for me because I don't have a target to look at when I'm speaking, and it's like I was speaking to a wall. And so I've got it's a ring light. I don't know if you can see. It's round, but it's probably that big around, and it's hollow in the middle.
Yep.
And so we brought that out, and Kerry was behind it, so I'm seeing his face, in the middle, and so I'm talking to him, and it's the way Kerry talks, his spirit. Yeah. He cuts through the barriers, that mental stuff you have up. Kerry, you get through it, and he wanted me to explain that encounter, and he would stop the camera, and then he'd ask me a little bit, kind of because I get off track really easy, and wanting a little more detail. But he took something down, and I started remembering stuff that I haven't remembered since the encounter. And then I was there.
Yep.
I was telling him, and it was almost as though I was watching a camera, a video of what happened to me that night. And then I'm explaining to somebody else what I'm seeing on the camera. That's what it was like.
Yep.
And it broke me down. I mean, it really messed me up. And I got to the point I almost lost it. And I was trying not to cry. And it was coming. There wasn't no stopping it. I said, I don't know. That hasn't happened. I get upset with some of the encounters I've had that have scared me so bad when I'm talking about them, and I can just stop for a second, take a breath, and I'm fine. I can move on. But it got me pretty good.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of things that I didn't remember, and I'll share some of that if you want me to discuss that encounter tonight. Some of the details that I haven't remembered until Kerry and Mark came here.
Yeah.
And, you know, the two of them, Kerry and Mark together, I don't care how shielded and blocked in that memory is in you. The two of them together, it's coming out.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it's something hidden and you forgot about, you don't even know it's there, Mark and Kerry together are going to get it out of you.
Yeah, they
And
sure are.
that's a blessing on them guys. You know, they have what it takes to do the field that they're in. They've got what it takes to make that happen. And, you
And
know,
they do it. He does it so gently.
yes. And it's just second nature for him.
Yeah, he doesn't even
And
know it, I don't think. Like, he didn't even know that that he had that gift and that he was
right.
doing those things. But it was like he just innately, that he just broke
Yep.
those walls down.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm very grateful for it. You know, when he left, when they left the house to go up to the property, I rode up there with them the first night, and I stayed till about 10 o'clock. And I I don't do the woods at night.
Yeah.
I haven't since my encounter, and that was the first time. And now I'm by a campfire. I'm down there with Mark. Kerry's over in the truck.
Oh, you froze up. Oh, we got a little difficulty with Donnie. Donnie, you froze up on us, buddy. You there?
Oh, are you there?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's all right.
But yeah, as I was saying, we were by the fire.
Yeah.
And so it was a safe area.
Sure.
But there was something, you know, Kerry's a big guy.
Yeah, he was a
You know,
hulk of a man.
I'm 5'9", and you know, I'm up to here on him. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Kerry's a big man.
Yep.
And just it's a security blanket being around him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if something comes out, you know, they can contend with this big old dude. You know, he's got a much better chance at, you know, coming out on top than I would. But it felt right. It was peaceful, and I had a really good time. We did start getting activity down there. Something was in the water in the creek, and it was close, and it sounded like it was coming like toward us. You could hear the bipedal steps, the kaploosh, kaploosh, kaploosh coming our direction. And I stopped and I was listening, and Mark was talking about something, and then Mark said, "Do you hear that?" And I said, "Yeah, I hear it." And he said, "That's footsteps." And I said, "Yeah, it sounds like it's coming to us." And Mark confirmed it. He said, "Yeah, it's definitely coming to us." But you know, just being there and being in the presence of Mark Zasky and Kerry Arnold was unlike anything that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
You know, there's few rare occasions that I have experienced things that I'll never forget. You know, the first time Holy Spirit flowed into my body was at my mother's funeral, and it was the most amazing experience I've ever experienced. Period. I've just never been around anything like that. And then years go by, and I was at home. I was in my bed, and you know, I pray all the time, and it felt like God had forgotten about me, and He was ignoring me, and no prayers answered, nothing, no visions, no nothing. And I was just bawling my eyes out because I thought He left me. And that night, I prayed, closed my prayer out, and it felt like I was elevated off the bed. It was a lot of supernatural things happened. I was wide awake. And then the third experience was when I was here in the house with Kerry and Mark. And it's just something about them two. The two of them make a unit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like a husband and wife make a unit, you know, a mother and child make a unit. Kerry and Mark, they are a unit, and it'll always be that way. Another 10 years from now, I have no doubt that Kerry's going to be providing information for Mark through the spiritual world. And I believe that.
Yep,
100%,
I do too.
I believe
I
it.
do too.
The bond them two had was unlike anyone's had with another person, you know, other than their mother, father, and their spouse. But what amazing people.
And you know, we talked yesterday. And remember we were talking about how there's no such thing as coincidence.
That's right.
There's no coincidence that Kerry and you were friends and you connected. There's no coincidence that Kerry and Mark connected the way that they connected, right?
Oh,
It just those things You were meant to meet him, whether it was over the internet or in person. You were meant to meet him, and it was because you had this weight on your shoulders that you needed to get off. And there's the guy that can guide you through it.
Absolutely.
You know what I said? I said he was like a walking, talking hug. Like he was like a walking hug.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just you just felt safe. Like he just made you feel safe and loved. Like from the moment you met him.
Yep, absolutely. And that's exactly how it was. And,
Yeah.
I talked to him on the phone before I ever came on a show with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd give me his number, and I gave him mine. And he said, "Are you free to talk?" And I said, "Yes." And he called. And I don't remember the words that he said, but that the opening sentence, there was something there, what I believe was spiritual. When Kerry said that first sentence to me, I don't remember what it was, but it was rather long. And when he said that, and he kind of giggled, it just, there was something in my spirit that I knew this is the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was an instant bond. And what a great guy. And
Yeah.
I am so fortunate that I got to meet him, in the flesh. I mean, he's a legend, always will be.
Absolutely.
And Mark, Mark's the same. If you've never met Mark, I mean, just imagine the most powerful firecracker you've ever seen in your life, and then magnify that thing into nuclear,
Yeah.
levels. And that's Mark. But Mark's the type of guy, he'll step in front of that train to save someone he's never even seen before.
Sure.
He's just, the two of them were meant to be together.
Yep.
And there's no way around that. And it was so obvious. And I hate that Mark's having to go through this, and Linda and their children. I hate it.
I know.
But it's always the good people.
I know.
These guys that are out breaking the law, they're hurting people. They're just doing really absurd things. They live to be 105, 110 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The good people are going home. And I think that's because of what's coming upon us soon. The great day of the Lord. I'm thinking, I don't know. It's just my opinion, but something biblical is going to be happening. I have no doubt about that. And we've preached it 100 times to people. Just get prepared.
Yeah, the world's changed, man. It's changed so much in such a short time. Oh, here comes the cat. He's going to say hi. All right, everybody. This is Ollie. Ollie, say hi.
Well, I got Louie right here.
You got Louie?
That's the big boy. Yeah, he just walked up. Look here, buddy. Can you?
If you guys out there, okay, so yesterday when me and Donnie talked, look at this thing.
My buddy, hey, man.
So Donnie took me for a tour around his house over the phone.
Who's that, buddy?
And he was telling me about this goat, and he said, you never seen a goat like this in your life. He's gigantic. He said, you never met one that's like him. When he came up, when Donnie walked up to this goat, the goat was standing on top of something, so they were their heads were level. Ollie, come on, buddy, you're killing me. Oh my God. Sorry, he was scratching my leg. And he's got claws like a panther. When Donnie walked up, they were level, like heads were at the same level. Louis, it was a little higher actually.
Yeah, he's quite a bit higher up there.
He rested his head on Donnie's shoulder, like Donnie was facing me and Louis was behind him. He rested his head on Donnie's shoulder and just laid it there, and then started kissing his face like a dog. It's just an awesome animal, man.
Yeah, he's very, very emotional. He's got his head laid right here on the counter. I'm loving on him, and I don't know if you'll be able to see him.
Oh, look
at
his
head
him.
laid.
Come on, man.
But he's a sweetheart, and he's such a big animal.
He's huge.
He is. He's really huge. He's right at 240 pounds.
That is massive, man.
He's a bit overweight, but he's a big boy. He carries his weight quite well. He can jump these. Our chain link fence is 60 inches, and he can go over it. He has went over it several times.
240 pounds. He's jumping over that.
Yeah, he'll jump up, and he'll just kind of grab it with his front hooves, And as his back is coming up, his front feet leave it, and his back feet kind of tap it, but he doesn't put his weight on it. He just kind of uses it as a pivot point. And he was out today. They got out today. So
Crazy goats.
Him and Goomba, but Goomba pushed the fence down, and I got Belle right here. But yeah, I was thinking about what we were talking about yesterday, about some of the encounters. And whenever you're ready, we can go there. But I was wanting to share some of the little things. If you got a specific encounter that you've heard that I've shared before, I can do that as well. It's whatever you want to hear.
So I want to touch on real quick, just because we talked about it yesterday. So when we talked yesterday, I had asked Donnie if there was activity at the house, or was it at the house and the property, or was it just the house or just the property? And Donnie told me it's both places, but the house is a little more sporadic and the property is all time. But you told me about how they popped the lenses off your lights.
Yeah, they had the floodlights. They actually they're one piece of light. They got a really thick lens. Okay, Louis, scoot up, buddy. He's pushing me away from it. Here, scoot up. There you go. They got a really thick lens. It's sort of opaque looking on the front, and it's got a texture to it, like a bumpy feel. And we get a 2-pack of them from Home Depot. They're the last pack I bought was $9 and some change, and we've got 2 on each corner of the house. The north end of the house, the woods on the other side of the fence right there, we have 2 lights that face north. We have 2 that face every direction. The 2 that face north and the 2 that face the woods on the south are the ones that get the lenses popped off. And I think I've replaced them 8 times, and we just quit. It was just too expensive. And this was in 1 year, in the summer and off into the winter, and I'd stopped. You replace them. Sometimes it would be the next day. You'd have 2 missing. Sometimes it would be 3 or 4 days or a week, but they would eventually get broke off. And we found a piece of one in the side yard one time, and we have no grass. It's just sand. And I actually raked by hand. I raked all the dirt under the lights. We never found. We found one that was missing. Probably a third of it was gone, and I never found the other part. And a year or so later, 2 years later, Jeff came down to visit with us, and
this is crazy. This is crazy.
He wanted to see the sinkhole, which is on the north side. You can see it from the yard, but he wanted to walk around, and we get around there to the sinkhole, and he spots there's a tree over there that's broke off between 3 and 4 inches thick. It's an oak, and it was broke off 4.5 feet high. And Jeff pointed at it and said, "What is that?" And I said, "It's an oak tree." And he said, "No, what is that?" And all I could see is the stump. Well, the top of it looks like somebody grabbed the top, they snapped it off, and then they stuck it in the dirt next to it. So it looks like 2 trees, but it's not. It's the stump, and then the top half that's just stuck in the ground next to it. And so I said, he said, "Yeah." And I said, "That's the top to that stump right there." He said, "No, what's on top of the stump?" And so I'm trying to focus on it. Jeff was to my right side, and I was kind of looking. I was probably 15 feet from it, and all I could see is this little line, like a 1/4 inch thick line, about that tall, sticking in the top of the stump. And I said, "I don't know." And I walked up on it, and it was the lens to one of the lights. And it wasn't set this way where I could see the width of it. It was set this way, so I was only looking at that thin edge, but Jeff could see the whole lens. And it blew me away. But we tried to pull it out, and the tree was still alive. Where it was broke off, it was still green, and that thing was smashed into the fiber of the tree. And I moved it. I couldn't do nothing with it. And Jeff is like Kerry. He is a mountain, a big man. Jeff grabbed it, and he's really rocking it. The whole stump's moving, and this is an oak about that big around, and it's alive. And stumps moving. We couldn't get it to budge. And it's like somebody took the big rubber hammers, got the big rubber top part on them. It was like somebody took one of them and smashed it down in there. But there was no chips on the glass. There's no marks on it. And the way the fibers of the oak tree are really dense, and it was not split. If it were split, you could drive it down. You could probably put some wood on it, like a board, and tap it and get it in. But this was like cross fiber, and it had the fibers just smashed way. It was down that far into the tree.
That's crazy.
When Mark and Kerry came recently, they wanted to see it, and we went down there, and it's still there, but the stump's dead now. You could actually move it and hear it start to crack. It's about to fall over, and the lens, you can pull it out now. Mark pulled it out and looked at it, and it was in really deep. But looking at it, Mark said you could see where the fibers were literally mashed. I mean, it was put in with some serious force, what Mark was saying.
Yeah.
And Kerry agreed with him when he looked at it, and they put it back. It's still down there.
And it's, that's just crazy, man. Like what can do that, right? What we know, but.
Yeah, and it just, what is confusing about it is it's glass.
Right.
How did it not break? If you had done that with your hand, I don't think, I know you can't hit it hard enough to drive it down into green oak. It's not possible. You can't even bury a knife into it. You could stick a knife probably that deep in it if you really come down with a point, but this was dull. It's a 1/4 inch thick, dull glass, and it was down an inch and a half into the fiber. And it blew me away. It was amazing to see, but at the same time, it was a little scary.
Yeah.
That kind of force, what could they do if they got a hold of you?
Well, whatever they want.
Yeah.
Whatever they want. A gorilla, a silverback gorilla, scientifically, its strength is immeasurable. That's what they say. So if a silverback gorilla's strength is immeasurable, then these things are levels above them.
Oh, yeah.
When you talk about physical prowess, I mean, you're talking about something that for someone who's never seen one, they are there's nothing on this planet. There's no animal on this planet that would even give it a fight.
Nope. There's no comparison to anything.
Nope.
I've seen some large animals at a zoo. I've seen an elephant up close.
Yep.
And if you've ever seen an elephant on TV, it just looks like a big elephant. But when you're there, they've got hair.
Yeah, they do. Of course.
Giant pores. You can see it on them up close, and that skin has got to be super thick.
Yep.
And the encounter I had in Marianna, that was one of the things, a memory that came back to me when Kerry was interviewing me about it here. And I remembered seeing the skin and the follicles where the hair follicles are.
Yeah.
Like the little holes, where the hair comes
pores,
out.
Yeah.
And the skin, the first thought, I remember, because he was arm's length. I could have stuck my arm out very easily and touched him. He was so close to me. I would guess 2.5 feet. And
this is the bad encounter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was growling and snarling at me. But every time he would growl, he was just spitting all over me. And his breath was hitting me. I mean, I could feel the hair on my neck moving. I mean, he was right there. And the skin on him, it reminded me of armor plating. That was what came to mind. The bullet ain't going to pierce that. Mm-hmm. It's just, it looked so dense.
It just leathery almost.
Yeah. It did had a leather appearance, but it reminded me of, if you ever seen cast iron, like cast iron that hasn't been treated, and how when it rusts, it gets all this pitting in it.
Yes.
And it's got a real dull, dry look. There's no shine. That's how the skin looked. Yep. And that's what it reminded me of, that cast iron look. And it was frightening.
Yeah.
And I had a 7mm short Magnum, had one in the tube. Safety was off, and my finger was in the trigger well.
Yeah.
And I was turned. I had it up, on my shoulder, right hand in the trigger. And when I got turned, the barrel was pointing like, I don't know if you can see, like right about here on him, on his right side. If I would have squeezed the trigger, it would hit him right there. And the barrel was, it was, I don't know, foot from him. It was close. And every time he'd swing his fist down, the wind would hit me, off his hands when he'd swing him down and stomp his foot. And he was so close, but the skin on it, the skin in his face, his eyes, the way he looked, and the skin was, that's what did it.
Yeah.
And it sounds silly.
No, it
That
don't.
skin would scare you, but when you see something like that, and it moves as though it's made of rubber, very fluid, very easy movement. But you look at the skin, and just right away, mentally, I'm thinking, a hide that thick on him, under the hair, just an inch and a half thick skin is sort of, what I got in my mind. I don't know how thick it was. It could have been paper thin, but it did not look that way. The pores were so big, and it almost seemed like you could dirty your hand up, and if you were to rub your hand on him, there would be spots. You remember the push pins our mothers and grandparents or grandmothers would use for sewing, and they had the little plastic ball on the top?
Yep.
That's about the diameter of the
Pores.
indentation where the hair would come out, the pores. Yep, they were big like that. And it just, everything on him was just oversized.
Yeah, exaggerated.
Very exaggerated. And that just, it added so much to the fear factor for me. And
it's because these are things that like you've never seen in your life, right? And
right.
So not only you're trying to process it in the moment, you're looking at it and your brain's trying to process what you're seeing, because there's nothing that's supposed to look this way. There's nothing that's supposed to be this big.
That's
You're not
right.
supposed to be able to look into somebody's pore where the hair's coming out of and literally feel like you can, stick a pen tip inside of it. You know what I mean? Like that's just not.
Yeah.
It's not natural.
It was every bit of that big.
Yeah.
You could take a regular number 2 pencil, the lead from the pencil itself. I believe you could easily push the lead into the pores. They were that big, and it was so scary. You could see the dirt on him, on the skin. You could, it stood out. His skin was almost gray colored, but you could see all the dirt on. He was really nasty as far as dirt, but he didn't have leaves and he didn't have debris on him like that. Just a little bit, up near the upper shoulder, but the chest area and stomach was clean other than the dirt, but it just looked, it looked supernatural. It didn't look like anything that should be on earth.
Yeah.
And hey, girl.
And that's the thing. So like when people say, how come you didn't take a picture? How come all these pictures are blurry? How come you didn't grab your camera? Well, I challenge anybody out there to be face to face with one of these things. And I'm talking about your encounter was, I don't even know how. I don't know if I would have survived. I may have had a heart attack, honestly. So, but I'm saying 60 yards away, 80 yards away, if you're seeing one of these things and it's not happy, I challenge you to grab your phone. I challenge you to grab your camera. If that's the first thought that goes through your mind, then you're mentally the toughest man on the planet, because it didn't cross my mind, not once.
No, and I had a loaded gun. I had a lot of people telling me, "Oh, I would have just shot him," and I tried to explain to them, I've been a wild pig hunter almost all of my life since I've been able to go out hunting on my own. I love to. I just, I don't know if you can see, I got wild pigs tattooed on me. I love them that much. Quit, Belle. Quit, girl. And they're a fascinating animal. But I have literally shot small wild hogs, 50 to 60 pound range, at almost point blank range with a 12 gauge, 3-inch Magnum, 1 ounce slug, and never found them. they would tear out, and we'd track them till they hit the water. And
Yep.
no pig to be seen. And if something that small, that durable, could take a blow from a 12 gauge, what is this big thing going to take from a little bitty tiny 7mm?
It's going to make him mad.
It's going to make him mad. And he was already mad.
Yeah.
He was really mad. And I don't know what I did. Whatever it was, that was when I first shared it with Kerry. I've had a lot of experiences up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple that were visual, and it didn't look like what we know as Sasquatch. These were different. I don't know what they were, but they weren't as near as big as that thing. But when I had that encounter, there were between 10 and 12 that followed that up to date,
right,
from 2011 till today, that I have actually laid eyes on.
Yeah, we're going to talk about those too.
The area where I hunt, there's so much activity up there. A lot of the older videos that I filmed on the hiking where the activity started, all of that was in that area.
Yeah.
But I've never felt threatened. It scares me the same either way. I get really, really scared. I'm always armed when I'm out there. There's no reason to be scared. Come on, Belle, quit, girl. She's trying to push me.
Because the crazy thing too about it, right? So these encounters where they're aggressive like that, like you had, Kerry had, I had, many others have had, right? Where they're aggressive like that. The thing is that they could have done anything they wanted in that moment, but they didn't.
Yeah, and that's that's what Wes Germer was telling me. He said, because I had a friend of mine, she was in the car, and it was about 60 yards from where I was at when this thing's come up behind me and where the car was, but it was open.
Yeah.
And this was at night, about 10 o'clock. We had a big moon that night. I don't know if it was full, but it was a bright moon. You could see across the peanut fields. I mean, they just glowed lime green. And in that trail on both sides, the trees are 67. They're huge, grown trees. There's oaks, pine trees, magnolias, a little bit of everything. Black walnut. They're loaded. Well, this little two trail, the car, we just pulled it in to the start of it. So it's facing me. And I could see the green peanut field through the windshield behind the car, because you have to drive around a little field. You just come around it and then you pull in to that two trail, and we stopped right there because that car would have got stuck if we would have come all the way down it. And so I could see her. I can make out her head. I could see her head moving. I guess she was dancing to I don't know what she's doing. The car was running with the air on, and she was sitting inside of it, but I could see her.
Yeah.
And at that distance, I would have never had made it to her. And Wes and I both, Wes had brought it up, and I never thought about it until he did, but he said that this thing knew that she was there. He already knew.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he said that he thinks the reason it didn't take me was because she was right there in the car. And the more I thought about it afterwards, I believe that to be true. And when she turned the headlights on and started blowing the horn, that's when he took off. He come from my right side, and he stepped behind me. When she started that, he took off, on the other side, and it sounded like a bulldozer going through the trees.
Yeah. But what Wes said that about her being in the car, I mean, that's as plausible a hypothesis as any, right? I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense that, he would maybe go, oh, well, there's another one, But yeah, but the other thing too, like you've had multiple encounters. I've had a few, but a couple that were really like clear, and they were very different from each other. The aggressive encounter in '94, even looking back on it now, when people say like, why didn't somebody shoot it? Why didn't somebody kill it? And you hear it a lot. When you're trying to process this, you're looking at this thing, and I think there's multiple thoughts going through people's heads at that moment, right? You're scared. Do I run? what do I shoot? Do I, and all these, when they're going that fast, it's very hard to keep up and use critical thinking at all. But
Yeah.
one of the things that people say, and I, looking back on it, if I was a grown up in that situation, if I was the adult and I had the gun, I wouldn't have shot at it either. And it's because I looking at that thing, there would be a part of me that would probably think like, did I shoot a man?
Yeah. Yeah. You get the feeling, it's murder when you shoot.
Yes, because they look so. I mean, they look like when they get mad, it's primal. They look like an animal
Yeah.
when they're mad. When
Yep.
when
Absolutely.
but when they're not, when you're looking at their features and you're looking at their eyes, there's intelligence, man.
Yeah.
There's
The eyes and the nose
yes.
look so human.
Yep.
And, it just, to me, they've got the attributes of, like the Native Americans,
Yes.
and the Africans
Yep.
combined is what it
Yes.
looks like. They got the real high, real solid jawbone,
Yep.
and then they got the wide, flatter nose,
Yep.
and it's, who's to say they're not? Some tribe of ancient native. I mean, they could be not necessarily Native Americans because they're seen all around the world,
Right.
but they could very well be an early tribe. During biblical days
Yeah.
before Christ. When there were a set number of tribes on the earth of God's people, but there were good ones and bad ones, and
Right.
some of them were known as giants. Big people, and just I don't know. There's so many unanswered questions, and that's what Mark and Kerry were talking about. Trying to get the answers
Right.
to the unknown. And man, if anybody could get an answer to any of that, they've opened a tremendous door.
Oh, for sure.
Just super knowledge.
They've pushed the envelope, and when I said it to Carrie, I said, "What you're doing, what you and Mark are doing, is it's almost revolutionary. Like they that's not the word I'm looking for, but I said it to him. I said, "What you guys are doing is groundbreaking."
Yeah.
And of course, with his humility, he said, "Well, I don't know if it's groundbreaking." And I tried.
No one else is doing it.
No one's doing it. No one's
Right.
getting the images that they're getting. Mark's getting these things every day, man. Every day. That guy, he had a video the other day. He was by himself walking into the tree line where usually they stay outside the tree line and shoot the pictures. He went inside it where he
Yeah.
knows
Crazy.
these things are. I'm like,
Yeah.
it takes a brave soul to do that.
And Mark is, he is just an enormous ball of energy.
Sure
I don't
is.
know that one could catch him.
Yeah,
If he were to break
probably
out,
not.
Mark's not a big guy.
Yeah,
He's smaller stature, but he's fit. I
yeah,
mean, he's cut up, and I would never catch him. I mean, it's
yeah.
just, I'm not fast anyway. But in my prime, I wouldn't have been able to even get near him.
You can
You can just
tell.
see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark's just, he's a trooper, and I love him. He's crazy, and I just, what a great guy. But
So
I wouldn't do anything of what he's doing though. He goes in after him, and
yeah,
that's not for me.
no thanks. It's hard enough to go into the woods and stay in the safe zone, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Never mind go into their living room and their bedroom.
that's
No,
right.
no thanks.
That's right.
But so you know what? And getting back to the intelligence, I want you to talk about this one because this had me floored yesterday. The encounter you had when the one was doing the hand gesture. Can you tell that story?
Yeah. No, I can start from when the activity started.
Go ahead. Yeah,
But
please.
a lot happened, and it happened pretty quick.
Yes.
I was at the property, and what it is, we've got a square parcel. That's the 10 acres we've had for so long. It's a perfect square, 600 and I think 660 feet down each side. Well, the bigger parcel is here. It's like a rectangle, and the 10 butts up right in the center on one side. So it's shaped like a T. Well, I cut a road from the corner, the northeast corner of the 10, and I come across to not quite the southwest corner, a little toward the middle of the property. And then I started cutting the road into the new property. And I got about 40 feet, I guess. And there's a tree, a pine, and it's pretty big. It's, I don't know, 14 inches across the stump. And I can't get it down. I've got it cut about 4 foot high. And so I've got the tractor and I'm putting the bucket against the top of it. And I'm really beating the tar out of the tractor, trying to get it knocked loose. And I've dug down around it, got all the roots exposed around the table roots, the top roots. And I got all of them cut and it ain't coming up. Well, I'm working my way around it. I got on the north side of the stump. So the back of my tractor was facing north. Jeff's corner is north. That's where the majority of the activity originates, from that area. As I'm working with the tractor back and forth, I hear kids giggling. I hear them talking and giggling. And so I idle the tractor down and I'm listening. I could hear them very, very clearly. Now, they were sort of to my right, which would be like west northwest of where I was sitting. And it sounded like they were within 50 yards. It sounded really close. Oh, girl. But you can't see nothing. It's so thick in there, you can't see but about 10 or 12 yards. Well, it finally settled down, so I just revved the tractor back up and started ramming that stump, trying to break the stump loose. And then from directly behind me, it sounded like a woman just screaming in agony. And it was directly behind me. And it went from a woman's high-pitched, in distress scream into this like a lion's roar, but I could feel it. I'm holding the steering wheel. It's vibrating from the diesel motor on the tractor. You know, everything vibrates on. And I could feel the scream vibrating over that through the wheel. I could feel it in the seat. I mean, it penetrated me. And I just stopped. I idled the tractor down. Well, I can't turn my head. This is my limit right here. And so I have to turn my whole body. So, you know, when I broke my neck, I lost the vertebrae, and I'm very limited, you know, looking up or looking to the side. So I threw it out of gear and I grabbed the steering wheel and I twisted to where I could see behind me. There's nothing there. And it seems like it took a long time. It took me probably 3 seconds to throw it neutral and get turned. It was fast. If someone would have been there, they would not have gotten away without me at least seeing brush movement where they were running. There was nothing. And I said that, you know, that's it. I'm done. I spun back around. I threw the tractor in reverse, backed off the stump, and I took off to the truck. I had a brand new chainsaw that I put on credit. And it's a steel. It's a nice chainsaw, very expensive. You know, all I've ever bought was little $150 saws, them Poland saws, which are great, but mine finally died. Quit, Belle. Sorry, the bell's hitting the thing, so I'm not loving on her. But I left the saw right there, you know, where I was working, because I was cutting them roots. And I left it. I left the oil for it. I left the gas can. I left my jug of bar oil. I left it all. And I took off. I went up to the truck, got the tractor on the truck, shut it off, and I have to get my straps out. Down here in Florida, if you pull anything on a trailer and it's not strapped, heavily strapped, they will really put it on you. They will bust you hardcore. DOT, Department of Transportation, is very serious about having your equipment tied down. And so I'm trying to get the straps on the tractor, one on the front, one on the back, and then throw my ramps on it on the trailer so I can leave. And I can hear where my truck was facing where I was working on the stump. The truck was facing that way. The gate is behind the truck. You have to kind of go around a little curve, and the gate's back there to leave. And so the trailer, of course, is connected to the truck, is behind it. I got the trailer on it, and I'm on the driver's side, and I can hear somebody coming up on the passenger side of the truck in the brush. I can hear them moving, and there were faint grunting noises, and you kept hearing like somebody breaking wind, but you could tell it was done with a mouth. It was not somebody actually having gas issues. It was a sound they were making intentionally.
And it was loud, right?
It was real loud, and I had my earbud in. I only keep one in so I can hear what's happening around me. And I called Don Moore. He's part of our YouTube family, and he does all the research for our articles. He's the backbone and all that. And I called him. I had him on the phone, and he heard it over the phone. And, I asked him, I said, can you hear that? He said, yeah, is that a fart noise? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I can hear it. It was really loud. Well, then, I'm trying to get the strap on. I'm trying to pay attention on that side. And then behind me on the driver's side, I hear something coming up in the brush behind me. And it just, I was so scared.
Oh, you froze again, buddy. You there, pal? Here he goes, coming back.
There we go.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, it's all good. But it was daytime, around 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, middle of the day. Well, Don can hear this other one. He could hear the footsteps of it too. And I didn't even mention that. I said, here's something else. And he said, I can hear footsteps. I said, yeah, it's coming toward me. Well, about 40 or 50 feet from me is like, there's a finger that comes out. It's all wooded back there, but there's a finger. And right behind that finger of trees and brush, there's a little cleared area, 30 foot by 40, maybe 20 by 40. And then it's wooded, all around it. It's just like a little miniature little pasture. Well, it was inside that little finger of stuff, the trees and brush that I was hearing the footsteps. I'm strapped in the front of the tractor now, and I keep looking over there. I'm trying to watch the passenger side and trying to watch over here behind me, which is on my side of the truck. And I make out there's a figure. I can see the whole thing. The only thing I couldn't see was the feet, but I could see the rest of it. And it's standing, there's a tree, probably this big around, right behind it. And then a couple of little small ones. And it's like going like this, like it's wobbling from foot to foot. It was just slightly moving.
Yep.
And I started panicking. I was like, oh my God. And I pulled my pistol out. And I just racked it back to where if it was a person, they would know, this is a gun. It's not a BB gun. And I pointed it at them. I will kill you. Don't mess around. And I'm not going to shoot nobody, but they don't know me. Whoever it is don't know who I am.
You want them to believe that for your safety.
I want them to believe it. It's wrong person. Go somewhere else is sort of the attitude, I was putting out.
Sure.
It didn't faze them. I was pointing it directly at them. Did not faze them. Just rocking back and forth. And there was no wind. There was nothing moving. Only this black figure. And so I had to put a strap on the back. I had to get my ramps on the trailer or I can't leave. I got straps hooked up to the trailer, but they're laid out. And if I'd have tried to leave, I'm sure it would have wrapped around the tire or the axle. I would have been in a worse situation. So I told Don, I said, don't get off the phone. Stay on the phone with me. Because, it feels like I'm with somebody.
Yeah.
Just talking on the phone. And he can hear everything happening through the earbud. And so I run to the back of the tractor. I throw the strap across, and I'm getting it hooked up while I'm looking over, trying to see this figure that was in that little finger of forest. And I can't because I've got these little 10-foot pine trees. There's 3 or 4 of them that are preventing me from seeing him. They're like, between us. And I was panicking, thinking he's moving around now. I can't see him. I don't know where he is. Is he coming around on me? I get the strap on. I throw the ramps on there, and I run back to the front of the trailer. And it's still there. It hadn't moved anywhere. And it's got his hand up. It's standing there. It stopped rocking. And it's facing me, but it raises his hand up. Let me get in front of the camera. He raises his hand up like that, and he starts doing this. And I told Don, I said, he's waving at me, but he's not doing this number or doing this. He's showing me the top and the back of his hand. And I was panicking. I was at the point now, I was getting dizzy. My head was pounding. I was scared. And well, then beside it on the left side, there was a very short, a smaller figure, not right there on top of him, 3 or 4 feet away from it. But there was another one, and it's moving around. I said, oh my God. I said, Dom, there's 2 of them. It's a little one and a big one. And it looked to be about 6 foot, the big one. He wasn't huge, but it was, I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with a little one.
A 6 footer is plenty big enough to do whatever. I would think a 4 or 5 footer is probably so much stronger than you or me.
Well, I got my phone up and I was taking pictures on my phone of him, and I sent Don the pictures. I could see it. I could see it clear. I got an iPhone. It takes amazing pictures, amazing video. And in the video, you can see the leaves, the tree, everything's pretty, and then this black mess. You can't make it out. I could see the shine off the cheeks from him. Where I was at, I could see the cheeks like a reflection or a shine. Or there was something on the cheeks that were white, but it looked like a shine, like it was wet, sweaty or something.
Kerry talked about this in Mark too, and I kind of feel the same way. I almost wonder if they either put something on their skin, or they have some sort of oils in their skin.
Yeah, it could have been oil
to keep the bugs away or something. Because if you've ever seen handprints, like on a window, a car window from them,
I had 2 on the end of our house, right by the bathroom window.
Greasy as can be.
Yeah, it was some type of. It was like grease, but it wasn't grease.
Yeah.
And I did film that when I found them, and I shared it on the channel. It's been quite a while back, and it was, I could touch them. It was where our bathroom window is. You got the square window, and there's a handprint on each side, like somebody had. I'm sorry, buddy. Somebody had went up and put their hands on it and were looking through the glasses. What it, was the impression I got. But they were far apart. If my arms were spread all the way, I could touch, the same width, but I couldn't touch the handprints. I could do one at a time. And where the print was, you could make out the whole hand. I mean, all 5 fingers. And when I stood as high as I could stand on my tiptoes, I could put my hand right about there on it. I couldn't go to the top, but, close. So it wasn't out of the question for it to be a human. It was not out of the question. But they were just, they were large.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of footage of them, but that oil stuff, whatever that left the print, whatever it was that left it, it smelled. It had like a chemical smell to it, and you remember in school in the locker room that it wasn't really body odor, but it wasn't stinky feet. It was kind of both.
Yeah.
That musk.
Yeah, that funk.
Yeah, it kind of had that smell, and then a chemical, a petroleum smell, but it wasn't oil. And
it's so weird.
I come inside, Kim wouldn't smell it. I tried to get her to smell my hand where I touched it. She wouldn't. But I washed my hands in Dawn soap, smelled them. It's gone. 15 minutes later, I'm sitting down, and I just reached up, scratched my nose, and I could smell it. It came right back. Whatever it was got into my skin.
So weird.
But yeah, it was really weird, and it could have been oil on this thing because I could see a glare. What it seemed like a glare on the cheeks. It's looking right at me. It ended up, I got in the truck. There was no issues. I left. They didn't come out. They didn't throw nothing at me. Everything was good. Well, the next day I had to go back out there, and I waited to the middle of the day, and I went back because I left everything laying there. I didn't care if it got stolen. I still owe probably $350 on it. I charged it on a credit card, so I'm making payments on it, but we needed a good saw. But I can't believe I left it. We had just got it. We only had it a couple of days, and I left it out there. I got so scared. But later, I told Jeff about it, about this thing waving at me. It was like he understood what a wave was, but he didn't understand how to do it. So he's waving at me like this. Well, Jeff contacts, he's talking to one of his friends, and he's sharing with him what I saw. And Jeff said, yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Donnie seen this creature, what he thinks is a Sasquatch, and it was waving at him. But it was waving like this. And well, the guy said, I don't know what that is. Well, the guy's wife just happened to walk by when Jeff was showing him. And when the man said he didn't know what it was, his wife said, I know what that means. And Jeff said, well, what is it? And she said, it's sign language for trees. And the guy
crazy.
The guy looked at Jeff and he said, was Donnie doing something to the trees? Jeff said, yeah, he was cutting them down. He was clearing them, making a road. And it made perfect sense. But it got me, it brought more questions to me. Yeah. Where did we learn sign language?
Right.
Was it something that's always been around? Did the natives learn it from them things? Did they communicate that way? I don't know.
Well, we talked about this. The legends, there's some native legends where they obviously looked at them as demons or bad people that did bad things, but then there's so many others where they lived in unison with each other.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They, like you said, they traded things. They helped each other out in different ways. So who knows what was shared, right?
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much does the controlling body of the countries of the world, how much do they know?
I think they probably know it all.
Yeah, because I mean, the little things like that could bring so much more to the field, the research field.
Sure.
And I've never heard of when I'm doing that. I did hear an encounter on YouTube, and I don't recall the channel. I was on the tractor, so I just throw something on and it'll just start playing. One ends, it'll start another video and it just plays them. And the guy was talking about the reports that he's had in their research of these things using sign language.
I believe it. I mean,
Hey, buddy, hold on.
You think about the fact that they have a level of intelligence that's so I mean, it's so incredibly close to ours, right? It's very close to ours.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, when you're talking about their intelligence to their environment, they're much smarter than us in their environment.
Yeah, they're part of their environment.
They are part of it. They
not just in it. They were part of it.
It's like a symbiotic relationship between them and the woods that they live in.
Yeah. They're all, everything in nature, I believe, is connected.
Yeah, it's all works in unison.
The trees, even the soil, I think it's all connected.
Yep.
And that unity, and that's something that mankind has walked away from.
Well, we've been pushed away from it, kind of, in a way. We've been continuously, indoctrinated to believe the things they want us to believe.
Come on, girl.
And they push the agendas they want us to follow. And it's human nature is if they're going to give you something to make your life more comfortable and easy, we're probably going to take advantage of it. And those are the things that kind of pull us away from Mother Earth and nature.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's daily. It's getting worse.
Yeah,
everything's going to the world of technology, the digital world. Yeah, and that's scary.
It is. But remember, again, we talked about the fact that there are some good things that come out of it. I mean, this here is amazing, and the family just in a couple. I started a channel 3 days ago, man. And the amount of support that I've gotten in that time is it just floors me. It floors me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've said it 100 times, and I stand behind it. The greatest people to ever touch a keyboard are right here on YouTube, and we've got a very large number of them. Like in our family at Standing Ghost Rescue, and on Bigfoot Odyssey, and these other channels that are all connected. These aren't everyday run-of-the-mill people. These are connected, down-to-earth people that go out of the way to help people they've never met before. And
Yep.
it's the most amazing thing. And, you know, we put out prayer requests for people. Anytime, you know, somebody reaches out to me, got something going on with a loved one or, you know, even a stranger and asking for prayers, we put it out. And the response is just incredible. It's supernatural. How many people, you know, that they just grab the sword and run with it. And it's amazing. And we couldn't be more blessed with the people that we've bonded with, you know, through YouTube. And what an amazing thing. What are you doing, buddy?
So I want to talk about one of the other things you showed me yesterday on the property, which, you know, it's just crazy to me. You have a pen. You had chickens in it.
Yeah.
And they were taken.
Yep, I might. It's just right here. I might be able to carry this. I've got where's my signal? I got a pretty good signal from what I can see. I'm going to try to walk right here.
Yeah, great. Let's see it.
I'm on the tablet, and if it starts breaking up, I'll come back real quick.
All right, that works.
But yeah, we had, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 180 chickens to begin with, and we would buy them by the lot. Sometimes it was 25 birds, sometimes it was 40, sometimes it would be, you know, 70. But we got Tractor Supply, our local Tractor Supply knows us quite well. And they're selling these birds for $2.50 a piece, and they would give them to us if we buy the whole lot for $0.25 a piece, 20 cents a piece. And so we were buying them up. This right here, I'm going to turn this just a little bit where you guys can see this lock. Can you see it right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the old barrel locks. There it goes. Once you close it, well, if I can get this closed, the goats have banged it up. We use it for the goats now instead of the chickens. We got rid of them. Where's my camera? There we go. All right, it is a common barrel lock. I'm trying to get it right. I'm sorry. But yeah, you lift this up and you slide it across and it goes into this piece and it locks the door. And the chickens would be in here. Now it's gotten banged up. The goats have just about destroyed it since we got rid of the birds. The metal goes down in the ground so nothing can dig under it. The door's sealed up top and bottom. We put the plywood up because we were feeding the babies in there. And the big goats would try to push through the fence to get to the babies, to get to their food. That's the only reason that's there. But it's fenced in all the way to the top. There's no gaps anywhere. Little birds can't get in. Nothing's able to get into it. But every night that lock would be unlocked. Something was unlocking the door, going inside and taking between 5 and 8 birds a night. And this was going on 7 days a week. And it got down from, you know, having pretty close to 200 birds, it got down to where we had about a dozen left, close to a dozen left. And Kim called her sister and said, if you want these chickens, come and get them because they're going to disappear. So something was coming in, unlocking it, and taking the chickens during the night. And it was just every night of the week. And they were dropping off so fast. And now we let them out during the day, let them roam around in here, and they would eat the bugs and the stuff from all the hay. And then at night, they'd go in their pen. We'd lock the pen up. And now we had about 10 of them. They got in the back. The gate was left open to the back section, so the chickens went back there. And we had some coyotes and foxes come in and wipe out about 10 of them. And we took care of that problem. And we stopped letting them out. And there was no more predator problems. But the birds would just disappear at night. The door would get unlocked. Birds would be missing. The door would get shut back. And I put a game camera up on it. The only oddball that I got was an oak snake, about a 3-foot oak snake, not big enough to eat a chicken.
Yeah.
He come through the fence and he got the bannies lay little bitty tiny eggs, and he ate a couple of eggs and left. And we ended up catching him a couple of days later and relocated him up to the property. But other than that, some of these birds we had were buff Orpingtons, which they're 8 to 10 pound big birds. They're the big orange color ones.
Yeah.
Real short tail on them, but they're good egg layers. They were vanishing, and 5 to 8 a night. It was crazy, but we finally said, well, we're getting rid of the chickens, and we got rid of them. But we've never had an issue with the goats. They've never bothered the goats.
It's so and those barrel locks. I mean, if anyone out there's ever used one, generally after a while, in the beginning they're usually easy to open. Slide.
Yeah.
After a while, it becomes a pain. It usually takes some wiggling and some yanking to get that thing.
You have to with the way you were having to open it was you stick your toes under the edge of the door,
lift it,
and you lift it up with your foot, and then it'll unlock pretty easy. If you don't do that, it's pretty hard to get it.
Right. Open. So what? There's nothing else out there that is. There's no animal that can do that. There's no animal.
No, not here.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have anything that can unlock it. I mean, we got stuff that would eat a hole in the fence. We had a hawk. We had a dog kennels that we would put some of the babies in until they were bigger to go in with the big birds. And then we had a hawk or an owl that would pull the babies through the wire.
Oh.
There would be usually the head and the feet would be there. They wouldn't eat that. They would eat the rest of the bird and they'd leave that. But, that's just something that happens naturally. But what was happening in that coop, no. And what was weird, they would shut the door back and they would slide that bolt back over. But to lock it, you slide it over and you rotate it down.
Mm-hmm.
But it would never be rotated down. It would be slid over, and that's it. And that's
crazy.
When I realized, every time I come out, the bolt is sticking straight out. It's closed, but the how you lock it by rotating that little handle down, it was never rotated down in the lock position. It was just slid over, and that was it. And so I put the game camera on it and didn't catch nothing. We had 7 or 8 birds missing. 3 or 4 days in a row, I had the camera up. 7 or 8 birds every night and didn't get nothing on camera. All we got was that little snake that one day. And I don't understand it.
So these are the things that me and Donnie discussed yesterday when he was showing me around the property. And I just, if for anybody out there that still has, still doesn't believe, right? I don't know what more. I mean, I'll continue to try to give more. I'll continue to try to find more evidence. I'll continue to do the things that we need to do. But I don't know what more we can give to the people who don't believe. There comes to a point where the preponderance of evidence, the empirical data, the legends and the folklore, the native totem poles that have all real animals on them, and a Sasquatch is also on that totem pole. All these things, for the people who don't believe, and you're calling us, you're calling us dummies, and all the these names. We have all the evidence. We have all this evidence. At what point, are we not the dummy? And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There comes a point.
There's something. Kerry and I had talked about that. I think it was last year we talked on the phone, and Kerry said there's a group of people, and a lot of these non-believers, something will happen down the line.
Oh yeah.
It triggers it, and they realize this is real.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a group. If one walked in their front yard when they were sitting on the porch, they wouldn't accept it.
They wouldn't.
They will never, they'll never believe, no matter what they witness. It's going to take one of these things physically picking their car up with them inside of it, or something really crazy.
Yeah.
And it's a shame it has to get to that, but Steve, what's his last name? Isdall.
Yeah.
Steve Isdall. That
How to hunt.
Yep, that channel. Steve just he addressed it a lot, but one of the things that he has said on several of the videos that I've watched of him is you've got hundreds of thousands of people from around the globe that are not connected to one another that are reporting very similar, if not identical, encounters.
Yeah.
And did somebody just wake up and say, "Hey, let's convince the world into making up a story about a big hairy thing coming into the yard?" And a large portion of these encounters, there's evidence to back them up.
Right.
Handprints and pictures, video clips, gigantic footprints 50 miles from nowhere.
Right.
And scientists finding them, and they're saying, look at the foot. That's not a human foot, even though it looks like it. But
we talked about Dr. Meldrum earlier, Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, and a guy who is so instrumental on the in the scientific field for pushing this forward, because he was brave enough to go against the grain, and where most of those guys who ever talked about this subject, they were shunned by the scientific community, and he just said, you know what? Listen, I don't care. There's something to this, and this is a guy that is an expert at the at the body, and how the body moves,
the anatomy of the body,
the anatomy of the body, and the morphology of the foot. And this guy is saying, like, these are real. These footprints are real, and they're not human.
Yeah. Well, we had just recently, I was up at the property, and right there where Mark and Kerry camped, that little road coming in, it goes all the way down and it crosses the creek. All right, the culvert that's under the road there where the creek flows through it, the road's washed out pretty heavy on each side, so you can't drive over it no more. You could take a four-wheeler over it, but you got to stay to one side, and it's sketchy. It's really sketchy. But I went down there checking the cameras, and anytime I'm out there, I'm filming. I mean, it's there's not a week that goes by that I don't have at least 3 or 4 hours of footage on the cameras or on my phone. Well, I went out there and I was filming. I went to check the cameras, and I think I'd put some corn out. I don't remember. And I heard something over the creek. Well, I parked up the hill. I go down the hill, cross the creek, and I made a left-hand turn. And I was hearing stuff on the side of the creek that the Suburban was parked on. And it really got to where I got extremely nervous, and I took care of what I needed to with the cameras, and I was coming back. All right, I get back, I cross the creek. As soon as you cross the creek, 20 feet up the hill on the right is the area where Kerry camped. That's the area that we're going to get a placard made. Camp Kerry Arnold. That's what we're going to dedicate it to him. But right there, I was walking up to the truck and filming and talking, and there's deer tracks all over. There's all kind of tracks. You see my boot prints coming down, and there's human footprints, probably a size 10. I wear a 13, and it was smaller than my foot, but it was adult. It was like adult size. It come out of the brush on the left side, which would be the west side of the road. It come out from the west, crossed the road, went through a cactus, through some brush, and up into the pines, deep, pressed down. And where my boot print was, where I just walked down there, it would step directly on my boot print. And I filmed it. I passed it. I kind of glanced, I seen it, and I stopped and had to do a double take. And it was so clear. They were stretched out pretty good. I could have walked that stride. I could have done it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Probably 3 foot maybe between steps. But it was smashed down. I mean, it was like this deep in the ground. And my boot print was like this. I mean, it just right on top of my print.
Crazy.
And that was it. That was my go button. Time to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I left. And I just, prints that size, I would imagine it's in the 5 foot range, but I just
probably
We don't.
juvenile, and that just goes to show you the density of these
Yeah,
things. A juvenile to leave a print that deep.
yeah. The bone to mass. What is it? The bone to mass ratio has got to be like, or mass to bone. It's got to be like 4 to 1,
It's
5 to 1. It's got
it
to be
yeah.
insane.
It's got
Yeah.
to be nuts, man.
I
It's
need
got to
to
be nuts.
grab. Let me see if I can text Kim right now. It's getting really dark right here. Get her to bring my light out for me.
All right. We're gonna go probably another 20 minutes, and then I'll cut it from there.
Oh, it,
Uh,
it ain't no worry. It's getting to where I can't hardly see.
yeah, sure, sure. What
I
did I
already
want to?
told her before we come out, got started. I told her, I said I might have to get you to bring a light to me.
Um, what else was I gonna say? So me and Donnie talked for that 6 hours yesterday. We talked about a lot of things. One of those things is I really want to take a trip down there at some point. Donnie's got some moving to do, and we've got, I've got some stuff here that I'm trying to do over the next couple months. A lot of that has to do with learning how to edit film so that the stuff that I filmed in the field, when I'm going into the woods, that I can put it together to put up on YouTube, and then other personal stuff. But I'd love to get down there. I want to see the property, man. I'm itching to see it. I know that sounds crazy, but I if 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 it's half of what it's supposed to be, and I know it is, because Kerry said when we talked on the phone, um, that weekend, I asked him, I said, "What's going on with the Odyssey?" He said, "What's up with Donnie's Odyssey? I'm waiting to watch this movie, man." Uh, and he said, "Oh, we got a little while to go before that's done." He said, "I got to go down to Mark and finish some stuff up." He said, but I asked him, I said, "So, how was the trip?" And he, in that country voice, he said, "Man, let me tell you, brother, that place is active." And I mean,
Yeah,
he
pretty wild.
stressed that it was one of the most active places he's been. That and then he talked about uh Arkansas, Miss
Yeah,
Pat, and
yeah,
yeah,
Pam. Yeah, Pam.
Pam,
Oh, I can't remember her husband's name. Doggone.
Paul,
Paul.
yeah,
Yeah, awesome people. Awesome people. Um, yeah, I watched some of that show that he did on them, and then we ended up. It was during the day when I got to watch it the following day, and I never finished it. Um, I haven't even caught up with the last few videos Kerry put up yet, and I need to. I don't like listening to them. I like to actually be able to see it,
yeah,
because there's so much on the face when these people are sharing their experiences. You can see it,
yep,
and you can hear it, but when you see the that emotion in their face, it brings so much more depth to what they went through. And
sure does.
I just I listen to a lot of shows, but with Bigfoot Odyssey, I have to watch it. I've got to
Yeah,
see what's going on. But yeah, I just that property is. I think that's why we got the deal on it that we got.
you
Um,
think they knew?
the price we got on that was insane,
Really?
insane. And I'm not going to mention the actual price.
No, 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 no.
There was people interested, but I will just give you an idea of how big of a deal. All right, we know the guy very well who owns it. We've known him for years,
Okay,
and we didn't know that he owned it when when we first were talking about, man, we'd love to have that property. We never went on the property, but we were having activity on the 10 acres, and it was all coming from that property. Um, but we had no idea who owned it. And when we found out who owned it, then we found out it was, he offered it to us. He had it on market not far, just a few years back, and it was almost $2 million.
okay,
All right. We didn't pay half of that. We didn't pay a quarter of that. We didn't pay a 16th of that.
wow,
I what we ended up paying for that, I could have got me a new truck, not a jammed up loaded F-350, but a a new half-ton pickup truck.
Wow.
I mean, the deal we got was insane, and we had to have help in order to get it. Through Kim's family. Thank God for them. But it's locked in. We got it. The value on it, and my sister pulled up a lot of the details on it. The values through the years has been insane. I think the reason we got it that cheap was because of what is going on that property. I'm sorry, the light's so dark. I got another one right here. I'm going to put this thing. Maybe this will help some.
Yeah, we can see you. There you go.
Yeah. But I think this one we got it so cheap was because of the activity, but nothing was mentioned to us about the activity. I would have still got it. I still would have, went out of the way to try to get it, because I do believe it's not surrounded by houses and, where these things have nowhere to go. It's forest. It's wooded for miles.
You said it's 9.5 miles into the woods is where you took Mark and Kerry.
Yep. Once you turn off of the highway, you got maybe 3/4 of a mile. There's some houses, and then it's woods. And from the highway, we're 9.5 miles in.
Unbelievable.
And, we got one neighbor coming in to the property, into the 10-acre where the gate is. We got one neighbor right there. But outside of him, he's an older guy. And outside of him, I could shoot a rifle pretty much in any direction. Just unload, and you're not going to hit nothing but trees. You can travel. We took the 4-wheeler up there, Kim and I, and we went south of the property. We went through the old logging road that goes down the center of the property, come out the back, and got into the forest there. And we did 54 miles round trip. A lot of it was, just kind of zigzagging through little trails, but on logging roads and trails, just regular trails. And we did 54 miles.
Wow. Wow.
Never seen a fresh track. Never seen any human tracks, for boot prints or just the woods just continuous. But there's that much wooded area, and that's why we're under the impression if we really push the hunting, keep our presence up there, and hunting season opens on October, I think the 22nd or 20th. It opens for archery, and me, Chris, and then my stepson, we're going to be up there constantly. And it's not so much to get up there and to wipe the deer out. Regardless of where we hunt, we're only allowed 5 deer a season now. They changed the laws a couple years ago. But the reason for being out there as much as we can is the human presence. And we're kind of thinking these things are going to say, hey, it's not worth it. Let's move over, a 1/4 mile.
God, I hope so.
They can move over a 1/4 mile. They still got the creek right there running through. They got, everything they could want is right there. There's no sense in them staying hubbed up right there where we're at is what we're hoping.
I hope so, man.
But we're not going to let up. We're going to, we're going to hunt it. We're going to keep our presence out there. And if they don't cause any problems, they scare me. But if they don't cause any problems with the animals or with our home or anything of that sort, there won't be we won't have a problem with them.
Right. But that's the thing, though, is that a lot of times they tend to do those things. They tend to get into stuff that they, you don't want them to get into, like the chickens and so many people I hear about, they leave feed outside or they got dog food in a garbage can and it's just gone. And 55-gallon can full of garbage food and it's gone in 2 days.
Yeah, that we keep, as far as the dog food, we keep our dog food indoors. It stays in the house because of the rats and things of that nature. But the birds, the animals, the baby, we have ducks now. But the baby ducks, they stay indoors until they start getting their flight feathers. And then we'll move them out with the big ducks, and they'll be in we got a huge dog kennels that we use for the goats, and we'll move them into a dog kennel until the rest of their flight feathers start coming in. Not when they're all the way in, but when they start.
Yeah.
Then we can open it and let them mingle with the other ducks. But that way it gives the other ducks time to get used to them being there.
Sure.
And they won't attack them. But I don't want to get up there and we get set up and get the ducks, their little area set up, and then come out and have them missing. That's what we're hoping doesn't happen.
Right.
We got... yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to... No, you can finish. I was just going to say, if you wanted to share some of the other stuff that had been going on that you talked about in the beginning of the video, feel free, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to get these lights set for some reason. It's not. There we go. That's a little better.
That looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, we had. Golly, there's been so much that's happened up there. Oh, little one's coughing again. I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that no one's really heard much on. There's been so many different. I'll tell you the one I shared with Wes a long time ago, and I shared with Kerry. That is the one. It was scary in a sense, but it wasn't horrifying. It was just freaky. That was on the beach, on Panama City Beach. There's an area called the Colony Club. It's an upper class neighborhood. Got a huge golf course that is all throughout. The houses are around the edge of the golf course. And back then, it wasn't built up to where it is today. And so there was a road, the paved road coming in, the main road. If you follow it from Back Beach Road and you come into the Colony Club, you're headed north. If you follow it all the way to the end, you go past the houses, and then it turns into a dirt road. And the dirt road, it has a name. It's called Moonlight Bay Drive. And if the dirt road, when you follow it down, you're in mature pine trees, paper mill pine trees on both sides of the road. And there's this huge ditch on the left side. And you get down to the end of it, and you're at a T. You take a right, headed east. You can go back there several miles. You take a left, it goes 50 yards, 60 yards, and then it makes a 90-degree right-hand turn and 300 feet at dead ends at the bay, right on the water. Well, we had, it was 4 of us, and we took my Nova. This was back, I think I was about 18 or 19. And I was driving. I had my girlfriend in the seat with me up front, and my best friend Eddie was behind me, and his girlfriend Christy was sitting next to him. So we went down there. We didn't have no money. We'd go and get us a 12-pack of beer and just have a fun night. But we didn't have money to do anything that night, and so we decided to go down by the bay right there and just hang out and just relax. Panama City Beach is a tourist destination, and it's loaded with people, the tourists coming down, and we wanted to get away from all of that. And so we drove down there, and apart the little road that dead ends at the bay, the little 2 trail, there's a ditch on the left side, on the driver's side of the car, that drops down about 3 foot, and it's just a little 2 foot wide ditch, got ankle deep water running through it. And then the land on the other side of the ditch is it's a lot lower than the side where the car's parked. All of that's significantly higher. Well, we had pulled down that trail and we stopped. We couldn't go down to the water's edge because of the sand. And I was driving a 1977 Chevrolet Nova. It was an old police car, and it would have gotten stuck if I'd have went down in the sand. Well, I got out and I sat on the tire in front of the driver door. I sat on the hood right there above the front tire. And my girlfriend at the time, she come around and was standing between my legs, facing me, and we were talking. We were dating, and you know how the young lovebirds are. Well, looking over her shoulder. The ditch is right behind her, and looking over her shoulder by the ditch, there was a lime green light that was glowing down fairly close to the water, and I thought it was a bobcat or an animal. The trees on that side were short, anywhere from 8 foot to about 15 foot. Little pine saplings. Most of them were about 8 to 10 foot, and I thought it was a bobcat that was on that tree. Well, that glowing light started rising up the tree like something was climbing up it. And my girlfriend, I told her, I said, look, there's a bobcat on the tree behind you. Well, she's from California, uh, from the hills, fancy neighborhood. She's not an outdoors person. Well, she took off and got back in the car. Well, I watched it for a minute, and it's rising up the tree. So I hop down and I go to the back window on my side, on the driver's side, and I say, Eddie, come check it out. There's a bobcat right here. I mean, you can see his eyes glowing. Well, Eddie, just making a joke of it, he said, I don't want to see no doggone bobcat. And he started laughing. He rolled the window up. So I went back and sat on the car, and I was watching it. This thing's rising up, and then it dawned on me there was no sound. And those are pine trees. If you brush against them, they make a crackling sound. The bark's real loud and crunchy.
Very scratchy.
Yeah, real scratchy. And there was no sound. I mean, it was silence. Like somebody just took the volume knob and turned it off completely. There was nothing. And it rose up. It was about eye level with me. And it stopped. And when it was down low, it was almost shaped like a smiley face. It had a weird shape to it. When it got up, it was a bigger shape. It was really weird, like it changed shape. It wasn't blinking. It was not a glow fly. It was super bright lime green. Well, then it like moves. It kind of swings like toward the right, and it turns into a triangle. You know, I got the bay is this way. So as it swung up, the pointed part was facing south. The flat bottom, which if it were a triangle on its side, was rounded. It wasn't flat. It was like rounded. Well, that was facing north. It was facing the water. And I got to, watching it. And now this thing's this big. It's too big to be a glowfly. It's not a bobcat. It's not a coon. It's not anything I'm familiar with. And I was getting a little bit nervous. Well, then it swings down again, and it comes up. And what I'm looking at, when you look in the mirror at your eye, imagine the white part of your eye glowing lime green, and the colored part just being a black hole. It looked like the white of somebody's eye. It was just one, but it was, huge and bright green. It had this dark black circle in the middle, for the pupil, iris, whatever the center part of your eye is. Well, that's when I got scared. I jumped in the car and I cranked the car up. Well, the three of them are in the car, and what's going on? What's going on? And I was just focused. I want to get the car turned before this thing leaves. I want to see what it is. Well, I have to do like a 5 or 6 point turn to get the car face and get the headlights that way. I get the car turned, and I'm pulling up, and I bump into the pine tree right there on the edge of the ditch. But my headlight, the tree's right here, and my headlight is right here on the tree. And I can't see him. He's behind the tree. Well, my girlfriend's in the passenger seat. She goes down on the floorboard on her back, and she starts screaming and kicking me, kicking my legs. I mean, she was going nuts. Eddie's in the back. He starts screaming. He's punching the headrest of my seat. He's punching the roof of the car. He's screaming. His girlfriend, Christy's down either in the seat or in the floorboard. She went down back there somewhere. They're all screaming and freaking out, but I can't see. Whatever it is behind the tree that's right in front of me. But to the left of the tree, the passenger headlight was hitting him, so it was casting a shadow, like to the left of the tree that was in front of me, and it was the shadow of a person. And so I put it in reverse, and I backed up a little more. I turned the wheel, and I pulled up until the bumper hits the tree, and then right there, 5 feet from the front bumper, there's this guy standing there. His body is facing me, but he's got his head turned, and he's looking over the water. And his proportions were just completely out of whack. He had a little head, very thick, very short neck. Like really, really short neck. And he's got this huge, his arms are just massive, but they're the same diameter from the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist. It's all the same diameter. There's no indentation for the elbow or the wrist. There's no difference between the bicep and the forearm. It's all the same. It was really strange. Really long arms. His head, his forehead from his eyebrows went back, sloped way back. He had a little bitty head, as big as his body was. But he was facing me with his head turned, and I was stunned. There's no way anybody could have got out there. And he was there before we got there. And it's so far back, we wouldn't have been able to make it if somebody drove back there, because there's nowhere to park except on the road. And we drove all the way almost to the water. But he finally, after staring off at the water, he turns his head like that, and he looks straight at me, and the headlights are hitting him like in his chest. He's lit up.
Is he hairy?
He had fur. He didn't have hair. It was probably like that short, but it covered his body.
Yep.
It's short fur. And he had, it was like the old 70s and early 80s camo, the military camo, just the different shaped splotches.
Yep.
It was like his main color was a real dirty white, like a creamy looking white. And then he had these black, these brown, orange, yellow, all these different shaded splotches all over his whole body. It was all the way down. But when he turned and looked at me, the other side of his face looked like somebody shot him with a 12 gauge. All of this was just, it was like hamburger meat. It was mangled, shredded. There was no skin. There was no fur on it. It was just a mangled, bloody mess. There was no blood running off of him. It looked like it was probably a couple of days old. He didn't have blood all over him or anything. But something got him and got him good, whatever it was. It took his eye out. It was just all mangled up hamburger. But when he looked at me, and it felt as though he looked through the windshield and into my eyes. That's the feeling I got. He was looking directly in my eyes. I don't know how, because the headlights, he was so lit up. The one headlight had him right in his upper chest. He was just glowing. There was so much high beam on him. But he looked right at the windshield, and I know he seen me. I know he looked into my eyes. And he stared at me for a second, and then he looked down at the water, and he took a step coming toward us. And that's when I kind of snapped out of it. And I threw it in reverse, and we got out of there. He never did come to the car. He could have called us really easily.
And this is the thing, man. So, this is why, I say to people who question when I talk about this stuff, to think that we know everything that's out there in this world, to think that we know everything that's on this planet, everything about everything, is the most ignorant, ego-driven thought process that there is. We don't know. I don't think we know a sliver of what really is going on around us.
Yep, that's right. I'm in agreement with you 100% on that.
There's so many different stories about so many different things, right? So you got dogmen, you have, the regular Sasquatch stuff. I don't know if you ever saw that picture that was floating around the internet a couple years ago. It was a picture. It looked like a troll. Like it looked like a giant troll's face.
Wow.
Donnie, if I'll send it to you, I'll find out, send it to you. It was like a tree here, and there was a log that came up like this, and there was a space in between right here, and there was a mound, and in that space, it was this giant bulbous nose. It was this scraggly hair. It almost looked like it had like a hood on, but I don't think it was a hood. I think it was just the hair, like matted and nasty. It had a beard, and you could see the left eye, or the right eye in the picture. It almost looked like it was glowing just a little bit, but it must have been just whatever ambient light caught it. It was reflecting that back, and it looked like a troll. Didn't look like any Sasquatch I've ever seen. And this was not any faked picture. You could tell immediately that this was a real picture that someone took, and it was a real thing, whatever it was. There's weird stuff out there, man. There's weird stuff out there.
There's a lot, and would you mind if I share what I was explaining to you about the game camera trap?
No, go ahead. I thought this was brilliant.
With this, because I thought about it after we talked.
I got to walk away for 1 minute. I just got to check. There's a car outside. I don't know. It's been hovering around my front yard for a minute. I'm just going to check it. But go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, there were a few years back, one of the areas where I hunt, we have a lot of activity in there. And I was wanting to try to catch something on game camera. Every time I set up a trail camera, you don't get nothing on it. And one time I got what looks like a hairy finger that was up on the edge of the picture, like something reached around and grabbed the camera. I have no idea what it is. Whatever it was a very dark red colored hair on it, but it was so blurry. It could have been a squirrel. It could have been anything. But my intention was to set up a camera. I wanted to set something that would trick these beings, these creatures, Sasquatch, to where I could possibly catch one on camera. This particular area where I hunt at, I've got a trail that goes down to where my tree stand is at. One day I'm down there hunting, and there's a tree, probably that big around, not a big tree, 12, 13 foot high, about that diameter. I hunted one morning, and that tree, I've got a reflector on it, reflective tape. And that afternoon, we left at about 11 o'clock that morning and went and had lunch. Chris and I, we come back about 2 o'clock, go into the woods. That tree was bent over. It was bent all the way over to the ground. The top's touching the ground. And it was high enough I was able to walk under it, kind of squat. Well, a few days later, another one on the same trail. And sharing that, telling some friends, some of my YouTube family about that, they said, well, Sasquatch bends the trees. And at that time, I didn't know. It was new to me. So I started Googling that, and sure enough, people are catching the same thing. Sasquatch bending the trees. So I said, well, I want to set a camera trap right here. Catch whatever it is coming in. If it's a Sasquatch, I want to catch a video clip of him. All right, I took my game camera, and you can have it set to take photographs or video. You can set it for, I think it's 5 seconds up to 1 minute clips. And it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, and then 1 minute. Well, I set it on 20-second clips, I believe it was. Well, that camera, if this, just as an example, this water bottle with a camera, the top of the camera on the back, you've got 2 mounting points, one on each side, and then you have 2 at the bottom, one on each side. I took and I tied a cord from the top mounting bracket on the back of the camera, from the top to the opposite bottom corner. Then I tied one from this side to the bottom. It formed an X on the back of the camera. Then I tied paracord around the center of the X, and I slid it up. So when you hold the string, the camera hangs at about this angle where the lens is here. So it'll project, it will record about 10 foot out away from the camera. I went out to where these arches started appearing, and I threw that paracord over the arch, and I pulled it up, and it was up. It was just out of my reach. I turned the camera on, I pulled it up and got it up pretty high, and I tied it off. And then I took a limb and I held it against the camera until it finally stopped. It just kept rotating. And I finally got it stopped and got it situated. It was dead still, and I left. Uh, it sat there just for a few days. I think it was 3 or 4 days. But the day I put it out, that evening, that night, something came in. The camera turns on. It starts recording. And you got to remember, the camera's hanging at about this angle. Something grabbed the camera. It started recording, and it turned it like this. And then it rotated it like it was shining. If they can see the infrared light, maybe he was shining it like a flashlight. I don't know. But it turned, and then it was dropped because it was raised up, and it hit, and it kind of bounced around. It did not, I didn't catch anything other than you could hear bipedal footsteps leaving. Early the following morning, I think it was about 2 o'clock, something came in again. Camera turns on, it's picked up, and then it's turned, so it's filming this like toward the treetops. And all you can see is some of the limbs. You can't see all the way out because it's a heavy cover, but he had it facing the trees. And then it turned back, and it's like he was shining it around. Then it was turned straight toward the ground. You could see the ground, no legs, no feet. And then it was dropped, and it done this bouncing, and it finally stopped recording. But it's that same one, you could hear the bipedal footsteps. And that's the only time I ever used that. But it's just something to try for those of you that do investigate the Bigfoot. I think if you put it in some hot spots where you have activity, I do believe that eventually you're going to get a curious Sasquatch that's going to come in. If he bumps that camera, because the only thing supporting it is one string.
Yeah.
If he bumps it with a limb, it starts moving. It's going to trigger the PIR sensor. It's going to start recording. And my hopes were, since it's at an angle, it would spin, and then it would catch him wherever he was at. It would catch at least his lower half. I never put it back out. Those 2 clips, especially the one at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you can hear it walking off, that kind of done it for me. And that's when I decided I do not want to catch them on video, especially in areas where I'm hunting. I know they're out there. I've seen them there. I've seen the evidence they leave behind. I've heard them. I've had a lot of activity. I do not want footage of them right there where I'm in the exact same spot at that camera that I recorded him at. That's really scary for me.
It's well knowing they're out there is one thing. Seeing them, right, when you, it's a totally different ball game.
That confirmation is everything. That's what messes me up.
Right. It makes it all very, very real, too real.
Yeah.
And once you see it, there's no going back from that. Like, that's not, you can't erase that.
Yeah, you're part of that knowers club then, and
that's right.
I'm glad that I've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I had the experience. As bad as it messed me up, I would rather be scared like that for the first time and then know what's out there than to be absolutely clueless and be out in the middle of nowhere and it get dark on me, and then these things show up.
And that's what we're doing here. That was Kerry's whole message and goal, was to spread the awareness so that nobody had to be surprised by one of these things in that way.
Yes.
Because being surprised by one, if you know they're out there, you'll pick up on the signs more. It may make you turn around and leave that area. Maybe you choose to stay, but at least you know they're there, and you
Yep.
know that there's
You're
a
ready.
possibility, right? You're ready for it. There's a possibility this might happen. You know it might happen, and you're prepared at least as much as you can be. Because being completely unprepared is a life-changing event.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had I couldn't tell you how many encounters, not always visual. A lot of them were just audible.
Yeah, but that's
But
enough. If you're out there and you know, you once you know, you know. Those
that's right.
noises are unmistakable. Bipedal footsteps that are that heavy, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. It's
Nope,
them.
nope. And I don't know if I recorded. I had a GoPro on my shoulder, filming backwards. I hooked it to the strap on my backpack,
Mm,
and then I had one filming frontwards. And I was up there. I was going to check some cameras, and Chris put a camera up. It was right in an area that was going to flood. It was wet, and it ended up. I got to that point, but all I had on was my regular snake boots, which they are waterproof, but the water was a little deeper than the height of my boots, and it was cold, and I decided I wasn't going to cross. I only had 20 feet or so, and I would have been at the camera, but I would have been soaked to get it. So I turned around. I walked 10 or 15 feet, and on my left side, there's these really loud bipedal footsteps in the swamp water, but the palmettos are so tall right there, you can't see. It's really thick, but you could hear the splashes, and you could
hmm
feel it. Like I could feel it through my boots in the ground, and the kaploosh kaploosh was walking away. And I stopped. I spun the camera around, trying to get whatever was, because it was close.
Yeah.
Then behind me, I hear it behind me, like another one, and it took off in the water, and I got out of there. But I don't know if you've seen that particular video. I don't remember the name of it, but part of the title is the rear facing camera. There's two parts, a part one and part two.
Okay.
Part one is the forward camera, part two is the rear. And you can hear the footsteps on both versions. But if you get time, you ought to go over and listen to them. It was so loud, and
Yeah.
just, it was scary.
It's
And
amazing how much noise they can make when they want to,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then how silent they can be when they don't want to make any. They can be
yeah,
so incredibly quiet and still, and they can stay that way for long periods of time. It seems like um like they must be able to anyway, because if you go into the woods, and this is one thing that I've realized, right? They're everywhere. I don't think there's a
oh, yeah,
place in the United States that they're not, except for maybe Hawaii. But otherwise, they're in every state. And I think they're everywhere in every state. If you think they're not around you, I think you're
without a
wrong.
doubt.
Yeah, I think you're wrong if you think they're not around you. And with that being said, um, being there that often, some people never hear anything or see anything, and that just goes to show you how embedded in their environment they are, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it, and I was part of this group. I think all of us that go into the woods have heard
And you brush it off.
that these being, yes, and brush it off. And I've heard the bipedal footsteps. And in my mind, this was before I had an encounter. In my mind, it's it's a rabbit. It's something.
Something
But
else.
at that time, I'd never even heard of Bigfoot. I knew nothing about it.
Hmm.
And when I had that encounter in Marianna, I had no idea what they were. I didn't have internet. I didn't grow up, with all of that stuff. And it took, I think it was 2010, April of 2010, when I had the encounter in Marianna. And it was the end of 2012 or 2013 when I got my first smartphone, and I was researching on Google. I was learning how to use Google and trying to, because the only thing I knew was it was a caveman. I mean, and that's what I always called it up until I got more educated on the subject. But the first couple of years of the channel, Standing Goats Rescue, I called them cavemen. And
Yep.
I'm still not so sure that they're not what we've been taught in school is a caveman, because
I
they
agree.
fit the bill.
They
And
do.
the pictures that the Arthur's construction of what a caveman would look like in our history books is exactly what these things look like.
It is.
And I don't know. I'm kind
But
of torn on that one.
it is, yeah, and it's again, it would go back. It would totally erase everything we've been taught in school as far as our history is concerned,
Oh yeah,
and where we come from. The If they're cavemen, they must be some sort of branch off of the cavemen that they showed us, because the cavemen from the textbooks were much smaller.
yeah,
They
yeah.
were much shorter.
Yeah, I think that was the Neanderthals that were the real small ones. I think.
Yeah, okay, maybe you're right. You might be right.
And
I
then
wasn't I wasn't a scholar in school.
I wasn't either. But I remember the Neanderthal they were saying that was like first relative of the monkeys where we came
Right,
from. And I'm sorry, but I did not come from a monkey. And if we came from monkeys, then why are monkeys still here? If they
right,
changed into humans, there wouldn't be no more monkeys.
right, because
And
that's what evolution is, right?
yeah, yeah, the changing from one being into another. Well, why is the being we supposedly came from, why are they still here?
Right.
Was it just his cousin that changed? And it doesn't make sense. But yeah, I believe God put us here and He created us. And um, I don't know about the big guys, the Sasquatch, if He had created them. And the only reason I say that is, for a long time I thought that they were the beasts that were locked away in the bottomless pit. And near the end of days, before the great day of the Lord, God sends the key with an angel to unlock the gates to the bottomless pit, to release the beast to wreak havoc on mankind that's turned their backs on him. But the Bible says that God tells these creatures, you know, give mankind pure cane, but do not harm even a blade of grass. And that's not Sasquatch. They
No.
destroy the trees, the brush, they tear up everything. And
Yeah.
so then I thought, well, that's not them, because they do destroy the grass. But
And they um again, they destroy the grass and stuff, but they don't hurt people often. At least you don't hear about it. They get aggressive, but like
yeah,
your
yeah,
encounter,
they've
my
been,
encounter, they could have killed both of us in a
yep,
second.
yep, absolutely. And the other thing that kind of leads me away from them being God's creation is because, according to the Bible, God gave us dominion over all living things. And if we had dominion over all living things, then why don't we have dominion over Sasquatch? We don't. We
No,
have
we
no
don't.
power over them things. If it gets bad, you could pray to the Lord and He'll get you out of it without a doubt. But we as humans have no power over these creatures.
None.
And so that kind of leads me away from God being the one that created them.
Have you ever seen one move, like run, like really
Yes.
run? It's like a
Oh,
blur.
yeah.
It's a
But
blur.
what I've seen, it looks like their body is moving faster than what their legs are actually moving.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, their steps, you would think they'd cover 50 feet, but they don't. They cover 150.
Yeah.
But their feet, it's almost like they're on a roller. They're just making the movement as though they were running, but they're just moving way too fast. It just doesn't line up, and
Ha-
it's that's strange.
Have you ever watched?
Ready?
I don't. I asked Kerry this. It was the only way I could describe what I like. What the movement. The clearest way I could describe it. There was a wrestler, like WWF.
Yeah.
His name was The Undertaker.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know
So
you.
he had this entrance that he came down. Hi, Hope. Say hi. Say hi to everybody, Hope. This is Hope, everybody. She was the first cat that we got from the rescue. She's my little princess. And he came down the aisle, and it was like he was on a conveyor belt. That's what it looked like. It looked like he was on a conveyor belt where he just kind of glided down. There was no movement. His body didn't bob up and down. It was this just
Yeah, that's how them
like a
things move
ghost.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And it's I don't know how to even explain it.
You know, it's so hard to try to tell somebody exactly what it looks like. It's impossible.
Yeah, and yeah, I was telling Kerry, we were talking. I think that was this year, and one of them that I had seen in Caryville, Florida, in one of the areas that we hunt. It's swampy. I mean, it's nasty in there, but there's some really thick areas. It'll be open 30 foot or so, and then it's this hardcore heavy brush, and then it's open and then brush. It's so it the variables in there are everything is different, hardcore.
Yeah.
You move 50 feet, you're in a different environment, and
Yeah.
it's loaded with game. I'm in there and I seen one, what I thought was one, off about 200 yards from me. I was in the planted pine trees, and it was walking, it was moving. I couldn't see the legs moving. I could only see I could see the body, like from the knees up, but I could not see any leg movement. And it was just walking. He was just, just moving through the pines. He gets behind a pine tree and he stops, and it's like he vanished. The
Yep.
tree is probably this big around, and he's the size of a grown man.
Yeah.
I could see him. I could make out him behind the tree. He was much larger, and I could see him. But when he stopped, he was part of that tree. I mean, it was so strange. But when he took off, he was moving, and I think he knew I was down there. But the way he moved, he went through some stuff that was really, really thick.
Like it
And
was nothing.
yeah, and it was probably between 4 and 6 foot heavy brush, and he didn't make a sound.
None.
Not one leaf crunch, not one stick. And at that distance, I would have definitely heard him, because that's how I've seen him. I heard him. I heard the crunching, and I turned and looked up, and there he is going across the rows of pines were running like this, up and down this way. And I was sitting in the row, but I was facing the opposite direction where the swamp is. And I've harvested several deer down on that exact road. And so I was facing that, and I heard him behind me. So I turn around, I look up the hill, and I see him coming from the right, and the noise was obvious. I mean, there's somebody coming. And I thought it was a man for a minute, and he crossed the row I was in, which was the best view I had of him as he was coming, and it looked like a man. But when he got a couple of rows over from me, then it just didn't look right.
Yep.
That's when I thought I was seeing hair moving, like long, long hair on the body. And I got to watching him. I said, it's got to be a guy in a ghillie suit, because not everybody wears orange up there in that area. I mean, you'll get shot real easy. There's some crazy people in that area. And so I just kept my eye on him. He was behind that tree. When he took off, there's a hill that kind of rolls. Instead of going away from me and down the hill, I was back here. He was going across this way, and then he turns, and he's like going kind of toward the river, but away from me down the hill at an angle. So I watched him for, I don't know, 300 yards.
Yeah.
But when he was breaking through that stuff, there was no sound. None.
Crazy.
Not a step. And he was moving. I told Kerry, I said, it looked like he was flying.
Yep.
But I could not see under his feet. I couldn't see his feet, but I could see down to about the knees. And he was moving so fast, but there was nothing. I mean, it was like, somebody turned the volume off.
And again, these are things that don't make any sense, because they make noise, right? I've heard them crash through the woods leaving, and it sounded like there was a train. running through the
Yeah.
woods. I mean, it was the most violent, intense sounds that we've ever heard.
Yeah, and you can feel it through
And
the
feel
ground.
it. You
Yeah.
sure can. And then there's that where they don't make any sound at all. Like it's just, I don't know, man. The physical capabilities are just very, very weird.
Yeah, I
Very
think
weird.
I don't know if they've got abilities. I don't know what abilities, but the sound thing confuses me. It always has. It's if one comes near you, usually like you'll hear the goofy talking. It almost sounds like it's Oriental in a
Hmm.
way. You'll hear that. Then you hear the little grunting sounds and the popping sounds, and then it's like the everything stops. Just you can't hear nothing. You
Yep.
can't hear your own breathing.
It's like
Just
noise canceling headphones.
yeah, and everything goes dead. And then a few seconds later, 5-10 seconds later, all the sound comes back. And that part, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. Is there a is there like an alien connection there? And these alien creatures, I don't know. I don't even know where to even go with that. But I've witnessed that so many times, probably 4 or 5 dozen times through the years, and it's scary. You don't see nothing. You hear it at first, and then like just the sound is gone. Your ears stop working. I don't
That
know.
that
Uh,
that's something that I tell people all the time too. Is not quite to that extent what you're talking about, where it's like somebody put noise canceling headphones on. But
yeah,
if you've ever been in the woods and you all of a sudden you don't hear the birds anymore, you don't hear the peat
yeah,
frogs, you don't hear the bugs, you don't hear the squirrels. All the animals around go silent. It's because the king just entered the room.
yep. The boss is there. That's right.
The boss is there, and they are all scared to death.
Yep, and I'm right there with them. When it
Yeah,
goes silent like that, it's scarier for me when you don't. There's no footsteps. There's no grunting sounds. There's no growling. There's
because it
everything's normal, and then everything's silent.
because
That's
that to me it seems like bad intentions. If you're trying to
yeah,
sneak up on me that much and remain that hidden, then I feel like you must have an agenda that's not so good.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a move of a predator,
Right.
and I don't want to be prey. Not
No, goodness no.
at least with a bear or a panther, you've got a chance.
Yeah,
You could get out of it. With these things,
there's
there's not
no
much you can
chance.
do. Yeah,
There's no
there's
chance.
no chance, and I just I hope I don't never want to touch one. I believe I was touched by one back when I was a young teenager. I was slapped over the. I went over the handlebars of my bike. I was hit right in the middle of the back. Never seen him. We were out riding bikes, and it knocked me over the handlebars.
And this is another thought I had too. It may be crazy, but again, these are all just thoughts, and it's not something. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm saying that at some point I've thought these things about these creatures. People have. It seems to me that there's certain people that have experiences with them that go over a lifetime. Like
Yeah,
they have multiple experiences with them. Um, I wonder if there's a certain type of person that maybe gives off a certain type of energy, or that these things have some kind of sixth sense that they gravitate to a certain people, or
yeah,
feel like they can show themselves to certain people. I don't know. This is all stuff that I think about and question.
yeah. But it's weird that you say that. I had a conversation with someone very recently, and it was about these people who he's interviewed who have had these ongoing experiences. There's a point where it starts, where it begins. Like with me, it was Marianna. I had experiences before that, but I don't think it was Sasquatch. That was that thing with the eye mangled up. That was not a Sasquatch. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a Sasquatch. My first Sasquatch encounter was in Marianna, and that was like the play button. It started after that, and it's every year. I may not have many one year, but I'm gonna have experiences, and I don't want any of it. But what he was saying, one of the connections that he's found with him, the rarest personality type is that EMFJ.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. Well, all of these people have had that personality type, and that's the personality type that they had said I had, and that was from a licensed psychiatrist. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'll tell you exactly what it is. I'm just typing in the rarest personality type because it has a meaning. There it is. INFJ, and that's what I was. They said that I am, and the rarest personality type across the population, occurring in just 2% of the population. It is also the rarest personality type among men. INFJ stands for introversion, intuition, feeling, and judging. And it's supposed to be, there's a lot of information on it. I'm going to put it up. Maybe, I don't know if it'll show up on the camera where they can see right there, INFJ.
Yep.
That's the rarest of the personality type. And I've been, two different psychiatrists have labeled me as INFJ. And those people are normally go out of the way to help others. And I've got a heart wanting to help. And I've always wanted to help people, even people that I don't particularly care for. If you can help someone, you benefit in the long run. Every time you help someone, it helps you.
Yeah.
But this guy I was talking to said of the people that he's interviewed that have had ongoing encounters, the majority of them are this INFJ personality. And he thinks there's a connection. There's something about that personality type. I haven't seen anything to back that up. I know I've had more encounters than I ever care to have. I don't want to have any. I want it to stop and nothing ever happen again. And if I could ever figure out how to turn it off, I absolutely do that. But it's strange. If there's only 2% of the population that has that personality type, and if this guy's interviewed a lot of people who have had ongoing encounters, and the majority of them are INFJ personalities, I mean, that just it makes sense that something about that personality would draw attention. I'm getting shoved on by one of the little goats. If you keep seeing me moving, he's pushing my leg out from under me.
It's all right, man. We're gonna get out of here. It's 2 hours, 17 minutes. I gotta go take care of some of the cats outside again. Some of them come late, some of them come early. But we can do this again, man, anytime. I'm still so grateful for you for coming on and for everything you've done for me in the last couple of days.
Thank you.
Beyond that, though, I'm so happy to have made a wonderful friend. I mean, this is
absolutely brothers for life, and that's what it's all about. And we got I hope that all of our family over at Standing Ghost Rescue will hop over here and join you here and help you get your channel built up. That's what it's all about. And I'll do everything I can to support you. And I told you that off the phone, and I mean that. You've got all my contact information. Just let me know if there's anything that pops up and you need help with. I'll absolutely do what I can for you. But
I can't thank you enough, Donnie. Really, and I want to tell everybody again out there, like if you ever wonder if Donnie is the same in real life, I can tell you without a doubt, 150%. This man is almost, he's a saint, man. I'm telling you, the guy is really he's an amazing human being, and it's no coincidence that him and Kerry knew each other and were connected, and Mark and this community, man. It's a blessing to to be in. I really feel so fortunate, and I'm happy.
We're
I'm
blessed to have
happy,
you.
man.
Thank you so much.
I'm so
For
happy.
saying such kind things.
Oh no, you froze right at the end. Don't freeze right now. Don't freeze right at the end. He'll come back. He'll get back. Um,
Oh, there you are. It's
there he
all good.
goes.
Yeah, it's all good. No, I was just saying thank you so very much, and I'm so grateful that you invited me over for your first interview show, and I'm really ecstatic over that. Thank you. It
Oh,
was an honor.
it means the world to me, man.
Oh, me as well, brother. Me as well. And yeah, just keep me posted on it, and I'll do everything I can to help you out here. And you'll get a lot of help. You get a lot of prayer support from our Standing Goods Rescue family. They, the greatest people on YouTube.
I
And
could see it already. I'm telling you, I could see it already. They came over and flooded my comment feed today. They must have
aw-
watched that first video I posted,
awesome.
and they
That,
flooded my comment feed. I got 2 emails and then a couple Facebook messages. Like it was just amazing. It was so touching.
oh, that is fantastic. God is so good when He lines people up. He'll line the support up with it. He brings everything to the table. Our Father don't skimp out on us.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever feel that way, it's because we've skimped out on Him.
For sure.
He'll line it up, and the type of person you are. I knew it when we spoke yesterday. I knew it. You're the real deal, and I am so fortunate to be bonded with you and part of what you're doing here.
Amen,
And
brother.
I'm going to be with you here and give you whatever support I can, and you'll get a lot of support also from your now growing family here. Encrypted Connection is going to go far.
Well, thank
It's
you,
going to
Donnie.
take off. You're in the right place at the right time, and God is going to bring everything else. And when the fire starts burning, it's going to go. It's going to blaze. And I have
That's all
full faith.
right.
Yeah, I
Uh,
definitely look forward to doing this again.
we will. 100% we will. And we're going to talk outside of here. Like this, I'm
Oh yeah,
not going to just. I'll text you regularly just to check in, and I'll probably call you once in a while, just to shoot the breeze, man. Because
oh,
I don't got a lot of people here. We talked briefly. I've lost a lot of people in my life, and I don't have a ton of friends left from my group growing up.
yeah,
So to have a friend that I can talk to and have these conversations with about life and this stuff and
yeah, absolutely.
spiritual stuff, like that's so big, man. I'm so happy, so grateful.
Yep, and no matter what happens from this point forward, the world around us is crumbling,
Mm,
and just no matter where it goes, if it looks like things are getting bad, remember, the teachings of the Bible, the ancient writings, everything going back. The whole message that the Bible was trying to relay to us is to be prepared, not scared.
mm,
Preparation, uh, and you've got a lot of people that have joined your family here. You've got a lot of backup that's already in your pocket, and these are I know a large portion of these people, and I'll tell you, it does not get any better than them,
I can tell.
and they'll be in it for the long haul. And they've been with me. The ones that came over from Standing Goats Rescue have been with me for a long time,
Yeah,
and I'd do anything to help them. They're just I wouldn't be where I'm at now if it weren't for their support through all the prayers and just the email, just the short email checking on me. That
right.
means so much.
Blows your mind, doesn't it? It
It
just
does.
blows my mind that somebody. I said it today in the video. I said it totally blew my mind that anybody would watch me talk about these things, right? And then even more than that, that somebody would reach out, take their time out of their day to write an email with such kind words or leave these comments that are so supportive and so caring. Like, man, it just
Yeah,
if it doesn't make you smile and doesn't make you grateful, then you got an issue.
that's right. That's right. But yeah, everything, every message you get, and even the stuff regarding the big guys, the Sasquatch, every little share that you get, even from the people that don't want it made public, all of that adds to that knowledge, that database, and it's building a little better understanding for us. But it helps all
Absolutely.
of us. Everything that everybody's willing to share, no matter how small it may seem, it brings so much more to the table, and it's building a picture, and
It absolutely is.
we're getting a much better understanding of these creatures, and all of that is because of the people who have come forward and shared stuff. And I love it. People want to remain anonymous, and when they come to share, it's so easy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things. I've talked to several people who've had encounters, and I don't mean to drag this out, but it just reminded me. Um, when you're on StreamYard, you can disable your camera if you don't want people to see you. Um, I can do it, I think, yeah, just like Kyle just done. He can disable his camera to where you can still hear him, or he could disable the camera and the audio. Um, you've got
I'm
control.
here just like that. You can't see me.
Yep, and that's what happens. So if you've got an encounter you'd like to share, please share it here with Kyle. If you don't want to be seen, you can do just what he's done. And you just, at the bottom of the screen, you have an option for your camera and your microphone. You just click the camera and turn it off.
And I
And
promise you, if you do, because me and Donnie have both been in this position where where you're apprehensive, you're scared, you're nervous,
oh yeah,
you're terrified. I mean, like I remember physically having physical symptoms of anxiety leading up to it. Um, but I promise you, once you do it, the weight that's lifted is crazy. It's like
yeah, it's tremendous, and
it's a freeing feeling that you won't understand until you do.
that's right. And there's so much truth in that. And if you don't think you can get PTSD from holding these encounters in, 2012 is when I started getting treatment for PTSD due to my encounter. It's very real. It happens. I didn't get set free from that bondage of PTSD until I came out and I let my story go. When I put it out on YouTube, it took all of that off of me.
Yep.
And the great people on YouTube, which are some of the greatest people that's ever walked, Kerry Arnold is one of those people. Because of Kerry, because of Wes, because of Lisa, there's so many. If you're not comfortable sharing anywhere, I would highly recommend sharing right here with Kyle. Um, if he tells you he's not going to share any of your details, you can be assured you'll remain confidential. It'll never be shared.
Absolutely.
Um, but he's got a good thing going here, and I'm going to be supporting him. As long as the Lord allows me to walk on top of the earth instead of below it, I will be here to back him up. And I hope y'all do the same and just support Kyle. And let's get this channel going. When this thing explodes and hits the hundreds of thousands of subscribers,
Man.
remember you were here in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're the reason for it. So yeah, just back him up.
Well,
It's good to support people.
thank you so much, man. And for anyone out there wondering, one thing I take very seriously is that I'm going to try to do my best on this channel to, spread the awareness, seek the
Yeah.
truth, bring you content that you like. But my number one priority here is if you come on the show, if you choose to come on the show, if you're thinking about coming on the show, I want you to know that you're going to be safe.
Yes.
We're going to protect anything that you want protected. I will respect every wish that you have to not talk about something, leave something out, anonymity, any of those things. I am going to do my absolute best to make sure that you don't have anything to worry about. This is a safe place for you to come share those things. And I hope that, the people in this community, from what I've seen so far, you're you're going to get a couple clowns here and there who are going to say things, but that's life. That's just going to happen. But for the most part, you're going to find support here. That's what you're going to find. You're going to find support, and probably like you never felt
Oh,
before.
yeah, in a big way.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And I'm grateful that I'm part of what you got going here. it started for me yesterday when we spoke, and I went on, I found your channel, and I subscribed, turned notifications on. I said, I'm with you. I'm with you. No matter how long it takes or how short it happens, I'm with you. Um, you got a good start. You had Kerry's support and him urging you to move forward with this, and you're taking it by the reins. It's happening. It's happening, and I can't wait to see what you have coming up.
I'm excited too, man. I really am. I
Oh
was
yeah,
nervous, and now I'm excited. I think that I seeing the support and seeing, I had, you're right. I had Kerry, and I was able to pick his brain, and then now I'm able to pick your brain, and then Mark, I've emailed back and forth, and Mark's giving me some stuff. Mark's working up a map right now for me of 100 square mile area in my vicinity, and he told me that he is going to put me on them. He's going to put me in their living room,
that's awesome.
because I told him, I said, I got some stuff here in some areas that are close by that are, they have some activity. It's sporadic, but he told me, he's like, I'm going to put you on them. You're not going to have to ever question again. You'll be right with them. So,
Yeah,
we're going to do some. What's
not to
that?
cut you off. I just want to throw this right quick. When I took them up to the property,
Yeah.
10 minutes there, Mark pointed to a certain spot. He said, "Man, I can tell you right now, that area right there is a hotbed, right back, and you can't see it. That is so thick in there, you can't see far at all." And they haven't even left the camp spot because I went up there with them, and they just got there. First time ever being there. The area Mark was pointing at is Jeff's Corner, and that's where it all comes from. How did he know that? He's never seen the property. He did not have coordinates to it. There is no address on the property. It is a lot or a block number for that parcel, and I did not give him that. Um, but when he got there and they were looking out, he kept looking toward Jeff's Corner. And I was waiting. I thought, man, he's seeing something. I was waiting for him to say, oh, I'm seeing movement. But he didn't. He said, man, I'm telling you right now, that's a hotbed over there.
He's a
And it
whiz,
is,
man.
yeah, yep. And whatever he's looking for, he knows how to find them.
He does.
And I'm not going to be with him when he goes looking for them. Mark crazy. I'm not going out there.
Not the way he does, anyway.
No,
I'll stay on the back side, right?
that's right.
He's going
That's
right
right.
in. Kerry affectionately referred to him as a special kind of madman.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And he's so
Oh,
fast. You know, he's solid. He's built like a tank, Mark
yeah,
is.
yeah.
But he's limber and nimble as a cat.
You got to be doing the things he does, running in there and
Yeah.
jumping through those palmettos and all that stuff.
But if he were to ever break into a run to escape something, you're in a bad way. You're going to be stuck by yourself. That guy can move. And
He's like a whirling dervish.
yeah, he is. But I love him to death. He's amazing.
He seems like a wonderful guy.
He is. Yeah. It's just it. We were so blessed, Kim and I, to meet him and to meet
Yeah.
Kerry. And the time I spent with him here is that's something I'll treasure forever. And it's just it has put a permanent mark on my life, and that's
Yeah.
something I'll never forget. 30
Well,
years now, if I'm still here, I'll always remember. That first day was incredible. I loved it.
I talked to Pam and Paul. Pam reached out to me
Awesome.
in my comments. Yeah, awesome, so awesome, right? I was so I was so excited when I saw it said PJ Arkansas, and she talked
Yeah.
about how
Oh
when
yeah.
Kerry and Mark came to the house, she said we just didn't want them to leave. Like that's just the way that they made you feel. Like you didn't want them to go,
That's right.
and I can attest to that. Kerry, man, he just had this that intangible thing that you can't quite name, or it's just a special gift, a special
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah. He was born to do that.
Yeah.
It was firsthand to him. Just like us putting our socks on, just something you do without thinking. And that was where Kerry was with us. It was part of him.
But he worked. He admittedly he worked hard on himself as a person, because after his encounter, he had gone through a whole lot of loss, and then that encounter really messed him up. And he said he was not a really great person to be around for a while. And he said I worked on that, and he changed his whole perception of life around him, and he obviously had it in him. You have to be the type of person he was. You had to have it in you, but he found it. It was lost for a little while. He found it.
Yep, he sure did. And I just, I'll never be so grateful. There's no way to express it, in the human language.
Nope.
Just it's I don't know how to even say it. I love the man. Yep. I love Kerry. I love Mark. And the two of them. When you think about Kerry, you automatically think about Mark. They're
absolutely.
Just they come together, and it'll always be that way. Anytime I talk to Mark, I'm picturing Kerry and Mark. It's so wild, but it's how it's supposed to be. And that kind of love that they put out to the world around them, to all of us, without ever meeting us, and just the love they showed, that's testimony to who they are.
Yeah.
Who the true man is, who Kerry and Mark are deep inside. And that just, they're amazing people.
Well, we're going to continue to try to do what they were doing and helping as many people as we can. I know I got you on board, and I think as long as I got that, I think we can accomplish just about anything.
Oh yeah, you're going to get there.
We'll get there.
It's going to take off. Absolutely.
We're going to wrap this up now. I just want to let everybody know, I know most of you came over, I'm going to say it again, from Donnie's channel, but if you have not subscribed to Donnie's channel, please subscribe to his channel. Subscribe, hit the bell, turn the notifications on, like, share, all that stuff. It like Donnie said, it doesn't cost anything, and it means so much to the channel. It gets that algorithm going, and it gets his content out to more people to see it, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to spread the message. I have another guest coming on tomorrow, Matty J. He lives in Massachusetts. He's got activity ongoing at his home for some time now. These things are taking bananas from trees, that he's like tying them up. Yeah, all kinds of weird stuff. And then Tuesday night, at 8 p.m., I'm going to go live, and Taylor and Tate from the Squatch Watchers are going to be on Tuesday night. I don't know if you guys out there have watched them. If you haven't, you need to. These guys have been doing this for a long time down in North Carolina. It's 4 of them. And I said earlier in my video, I felt like a jerk because I reached out through message and I asked them, if they would come on, because we spoke briefly in the comment section of Kerry's page, and they said, let's do it. So I was, overjoyed. And but I forgot it was 4 of them. And Kerry, when we talked, right, one of the things he told me, one of the tips he said, he goes, don't interview 3 or more people at the same time, brother. It's just too hard. And so I'm going, man, I just booked 4 people once. I just started this, like, I'm gonna mess this up. So I asked Taylor, I said, listen, can it just be you and Tate at this time? And then I'd love to have Dave and Toby on another time. It has nothing to do with them personally. It's just because I'm new and I don't want to mess this up. And Taylor kind of said, yeah, all right, I'll let them know. And I'm like, man, I feel like a jerk now. But he said, you're fine. They're not going to be upset. They'll understand. So if Dave or Toby is watching this or watches this by any chance, guys, I love you both too. If you answered my message, I would have asked you if it could just be you two and to leave Taylor and Tate at home for this episode. I just don't want to overwhelm myself. But those guys are great. If you don't know about them, check them out. The Squatch Watchers. They're from North Carolina. Amazing content. If you're going to watch one video to start, I suggest you watch the video with D'Angelo Williams and Gary Barnage. They're NFL players. They went out with them on a couple of expeditions.
Oh, wow.
and they had some activity, but those guys were great. They were awesome in front of the camera.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
yeah, amazing. So that's it. We're gonna call an end to this thing. And if nobody told you guys they love you today, I love you. You're worth it. Remember that. And
Absolutely.
we'll catch up with you on the next one. And that's it. You guys have a great night.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for jumping over, and thank you for having me. I absolutely appreciate it greatly, Carl.
Thank you, Donnie.
Absolutely.